finally freaking done. I couldn't even enjoy my afternoon.
Where did you finish yesterday?
Literally this
Today.
morning.
Grading?
So yeah, they had one random last day,
Another minute, David.
and like everybody, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna meet every block," but then they didn't even have the stuff set up to take attendance.
What was the point?
Messy day. You needed one more day. They miscounted.
Get a towel. Test 1, 2.
Okay, I just turned these fans on.
Okay.
We just turned them off.
Good evening.
I don't care.
Good evening.
Test 1, 2. There you go.
Can you hear me?
You're on now.
Good evening. All right. Just testing the microphones, making sure everyone can hear. David Frankel, can you hear me?
So echoey. I can
Can
only
you
hear
make it louder?
the gym.
Okay. Good evening. Nope.
David, can you hear? It's your microphone.
Is there anyone in the gym? Because is it coming through in the gym? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there's a speaker in the gym.
Okay, I'm working on it. Okay. Testing, testing. No. Can you hear? You can't hear me? So I'm getting people over there who can say they can hear me, but all the people over here can't hear me, so.
I don't know.
I can't hear you either, Dana.
Okay. Just so y'all know, I'm not the one actually troubleshooting, so.
Alright, so it's commentary, like speakers, right? Sure.
Only thing I didn't look at.
Is Bill here? Bill Melville?
No. It's that fan.
Okay. All right, do you want? So, okay, I'm gonna test out turning off this fan because I wonder if that's the feedback you're getting. I don't know.
Okay,
It's only 20 degrees hotter.
that's different.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, I see people in the back giving me the thumbs up, so it looks like, yep. Okay, great. Good evening. All right, Julia and David, can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. Okay. I call to order the meeting of the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee on Tuesday, June 24th, 2025, at 7:03 p.m. And we'll begin. To begin, I'll invite you to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. I just want to let everyone know this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on HWCam. Additionally, I just want to let people know that there are some coolers in the back of the room with water and ice, and please, if you're feeling faint, please, please, please go get some water and ice. It is really, really warm, as you probably noticed all day long. To get started, the first item on our agenda is an opportunity for citizens' comments. The way that citizens' comments work here at the school committee is this. Any citizen who's wishing to speak before the committee should identify themselves. Please give us your first name, your last name, your address, and please spell your name your last name so that we can get it correct for the minutes. We do take the minutes pretty seriously. We would like to have them accurate. There are potentially people on Zoom that might also want to make comments, and I will give the people on Zoom an opportunity to make comments if there are people there that choose to do that. So you know, citizens' comments are an opportunity for that, which is comments. It's an opportunity for you to be heard and for us, the school committee, to listen. It's not a dialogue. It sometimes feels uncomfortable, but we're not going to have a back and forth conversation. We're going to listen, and then when you're finished speaking, we're going to say thank you. I ask you to keep your comments to 3 minutes. I will ask Amy if she will be a timer. She'll let you know when you have 30 seconds left so that you can wrap up your comments, and then she'll let you know when the 3 minutes are up. We're going to dive right in, and at 7:30, I'm going to take a break, and we're going to evaluate where we are in the room. It is possible that at that time, we're going to close citizens' comments. All right, we'll see where we are. All right. All right, I see that some people are at the podium already. I'm going to start in the room, and like I said, at some point we may move to, I will move to let people on Zoom have an opportunity as well. Good evening.
My name is Marjorie Gajeski, Marjorie Gajeski, 7 Perkins Street, Wenham. This is my comment. The Hamilton-Wenham Regional School District School Committee is out of control. The voters oppose your blatant attempt to nullify our votes again. We have been told that the school committee will try to nullify our votes by invoking MGL 7116N, which will change the process of voting from 2/3 to just a majority. This is unprecedented. It's seizing power. In the previous 4 town meetings, the school committee has arranged babysitting through the National Honor Society, encouraged families to bring their children with them, and added additional rooms for that. Anything to get the vote you want. You did not outreach for the seniors. The end justifies the means is all that matters to you, with absolutely no regard to the taxpayers. You want to change the voting threshold because you could not win with a 2/3 yes vote on 1, 2, 3, 4 town meetings. And now you still insist on bringing the question back to the front of the community for a 5th and 6th vote. Do not do this. Do not waste any more of our town's money to vote again. A consolidated school is not the plan the town wants. It is what the town has voted against. I repeat, 4 times we have voted 2/3 no. What part of no do you not comprehend? We, the people, voted down monies to build a huge consolidated school because we want our 3 existing small schools maintained. The job of the school committee is to oversee the budget and maintain the school buildings as well as other duties. Obviously, the school committee has misused the monies to maintain the buildings. I'm almost done. The monies that I, as well as 2/3 majority of the voters, have personally voted in favor of maintaining the buildings for the past 46 years I have lived here. So, as we are told, evidently you, the school committee, who have kept your mission away from the general public, and even to our Wenham board members tonight, you, school committee, have to vote among them yourselves.
30 seconds.
I'm almost done. To get 2/3 agreements among your own board members to be able to recommend a joint ballot option for the towns requiring only a majority vote. Let's pray that there are members of this board who will vote their conscience and vote no to bring the question back in front of the community. Vote no for asking us to vote again and move on to renovate and keep our small schools, which is one of the reasons why we moved to Hamilton and Wenham and why
That's 3 minutes.
we've always supported the school committee in the past years to keep our schools maintained.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think we're going to take 2 more people in the room, and then I'm going to move over to Zoom. I'm sorry, you can't hear me? Yeah, oh, no, thank you for your comments. I was just going to say to the room, we're going to take 2 more comments in the room, and then we're going to move to Zoom. Good evening.
Can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Nanette Malero. Melero is my last name, and I live at 247A Forest Street in Hamilton. I am here tonight to express my appreciation to the towns, to the school committee, and the school district staff who spent countless months researching the best plan to address our outdated schools, and who developed a plan that was approved by the majority of town residents. I would also like to share my disappointment in the failure to secure town funding for the school consolidation plan. I am speaking tonight as a grandparent of children in the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School District, as a retired teacher who substitutes in the Hamilton-Wenham elementary schools, and as a resident of Hamilton who values education and feels that investing in education is an investment in our children and the future. I would like to advocate for the district to continue to pursue avenues to implement the school consolidation plan. The plan addresses the educational needs of today's students and considers future needs. Numerous people spoke about the physical limitations of the current schools and the badly needed repairs. Something will have to be done to address these issues, and the plan that was approved by the majority of Hamilton-Wenham residents is the best and most economical option. Much time, money, and effort were already expended to develop this plan, and it would be a shame to drop the project altogether. I hope there is a way to make it happen. Our children deserve the best learning environment that we can provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Jeff Austin, Hamilton resident. I speak tonight out of a concern for the process, the precedent, and the integrity of our school district governance. The school committee is now considering using Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 71, Section 16N, as a tool to bypass our own regional agreement, an agreement that clearly requires supermajority approval for large-scale debt projects such as this $142 million proposed mega school. Let me be clear. State law sets the floor, not the ceiling. Chapter 71, Section 16N provides a minimum standard, a simple majority. Our regional agreement goes beyond that, requiring a higher threshold precisely to ensure that projects of this financial magnitude receive broader community consensus. This is not a conflict of law. This is a floor preemption. Our local more restrictive rule prevails. Why is the supermajority important? Because projects of this size impact every household. They raise taxes, redirect educational funds, and reshape the future of our town. A supermajority ensures that the entire region, not just a slim majority, agrees on that direction. To seek a loophole to avoid that, to safeguard, is not only legally questionable, it's 100% ethically wrong. The school committee has already disregarded 2 failed public opinion polls, 4 failed town votes, and a clear community opposition. To now pursue a legal end run around the agreement is betrayal of the public trust. It's a misuse of power and a manipulation of the process. Let's talk about cost. Over $1.5 million in taxpayer money has been grossly misused on the feasibility study. The superintendent and school committee knew would fail, including nearly $20,000 in marketing materials aimed at not informing, but persuading residents with claims like MSBA doesn't support renovations. That's false. The education plan submitted to the MSBA was designed around a signal outcome, consolidation, effectively setting up any renovation options to fail under its restrictive criteria. The MSBA does support renovation option plans. This is no longer about one school project. This is about governance, transparency, and fiscal responsibility. This process has fractured trust, created unnecessary animosity between residents, and ignored the pressing needs of the entire district, including aging middle and high school facilities. It's time to stop. Respect the votes, respect the agreement, respect the people. The path forward must include renovations, reconfigurations,
30
and a comprehensive
seconds.
plan that supports all 5 schools, not just 2.
Thank you. I'm going to now turn to Zoom. Mr. Tracy, do we have anyone on Zoom who is wanting to make a public comment?
Is anyone on Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature and let me know. I've been messaging them back and forth, but nobody's.
Okay.
Get that nighttime DJ voice going
Yeah.
on tonight.
All right, we'll continue on in the room then. Please approach the podium, yep.
Scott Mattern, 12 Old Cart Road. Consolidated Grammar School is not just an option. It's the only way for Hamilton and Wenham to elevate our schools and, in turn, our community's character. Now is the time, and this is the place to help make that happen. Voting no means asking voters in April for $15 million in urgent maintenance. This isn't a one-time fix. It's the beginning of years of escalating requests and even higher avoidable taxes. Beyond the financial burden, a no vote would impose an unsustainable strain on our dedicated town volunteers. Imagine the time and effort required for a decade of social media monitoring, corrections, and rebuttals to combat misinformation, all while technology that generates it rapidly evolves. As someone who has led many boards and committees in both towns, I can tell you the burden of our FinComs, select boards, capital committees, and others would be immense. A misconception is that renovation is cheaper, and the state's accelerated repair program will cover it. Renovation is not cheaper. The program only covers minor upgrades. Comparing our situation to Peabody's Welch School is a ruse. They had existing space for renovation, which our schools do not. Another misconception, the schools are adequate and major investment isn't urgent. This is not true. We have many special needs students who cannot learn in closets. Anyone who believes otherwise is out of touch with the realities of modern education. Furthermore, the direct street access at Winthrop presents a significant safety concern, even with our police hundreds of yards away. Consolidation means sacrificing the small school experience is another misconception. This is wrong. The new consolidated school uses a pod model, grouping students 1 and 2 years apart. This design fosters a strong school culture and equitable education for all students in learning environments smaller than either of our current elementary schools. Parents' anxiety could be helped by understanding how these pods function, or even better, by visiting one. Our schools are the primary reason why people choose to move here. Investing in our schools will have a profoundly positive impact, regardless of your age or whether you have children in the system. The record attendance and clear majority yes votes at our recent town meetings clearly demonstrate that our communities are ready for this long overdue investment. Let's ensure a positive future for our towns by voting yes.
Thank you. Okay. Please approach the podium. Yep. Head right up.
Still no one online.
Yep. We're going to stick with the room for now. It looks like the Zoom view, there are not people on Zoom right now that are ready.
Okay, thank you. I'm Sandy Fisher, Greenbrook Road. I have a number of questions. In the last school committee meeting, I was at, 2 issues were raised concerning water on the site. I also agree with the people who have talked about not honoring the vote, but I'm going to focus on water because that's my expertise. That's my education. But I do want to say, why do you bother having public comments and questions at the school committee meetings? Do you put them on a future agenda? Do you contact the person to find out their sources and learn from their experience? Are you continually seeking to learn from people who care enough about our children, our schools, and our town to give up their time to come to meetings again and again? Or are you moving full speed ahead with your own agenda after saying thank you to the people who comment? Now, last time I was here, a woman by the name of Ms. Galante spoke at the June 5th committee meeting. Have you answered her question? She works for a municipal contractor, and having heard about water pooling issues at the Cutler site and hearing testimony from a former town clerk who lived next to the site for over 5 decades, that a small stream used to run parallel to Woodland Mead through where the current ball field is, acquired water table information and asked the owner of the company that she works for and 2 project managers to estimate what it would cost to properly deal with the water at the site. She was told that based on the building size, water table, et cetera, it would cost $30 million minimum to protect the structure. On June 5th, she asked the school committee and superintendent directly if the proposed $142 million for the consolidation project included $30 million to address that water issue. No one would answer her. The costs of ignoring water issues are great and will bleed the town's finances for years to come. Ask Danvers. I grew up in Danvers. In 1960, they built a high school in a low area. By the mid-60s, the building had structural problems, and about 10 years later, a new addition was built and housed students in double sessions while
30
the
seconds.
old building and foundations walls were being fixed. As time went on, the newer 1970s addition had so many problems, it had to be demolished and replaced. To this day, the 1960s section of the Danvers High School is limited by its original foundation. I'd like to see efforts made to salvage the credibility of the school committee, honor the 4 town meeting votes already taken, and abandon plans to subvert the
3
process
minutes.
agreed upon by our towns. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Bob Knowles, 201 Main Street in Wenham, Hamilton Wenham Climate Action Team. So a little off the typical topic here. I'm here to just speak really briefly, because there's a lot of people here, about the school bus contract, which I'm strongly encouraging all of you to vote in favor of Doherty's Garage so that we can electrify the bus fleet and meet all of our 2040 zero carbon goals for Hamilton, Wenham, and the regional school district. So just a couple of quick bullets. It's a cost-neutral solution for the district, represents savings, stability in the long run. It's a better product, better for students and drivers alike. It locks in a electric rate without gas, fossil fuel fluctuations. It's going to meet our zero carbon goal. Now is the best time to do it. We've got a $5 million grant that's waiting for us to utilize it. If we don't utilize it now, it's going to go away. It's going to, the administration is going to pull it right back. Furthermore, Salter Beacon, who has been our provider for a long, long time now, has had a very unfair monopoly on the North Shore. It's time for that to stop. In quick summary, we should do this now. There's grant funding. A 10-year solution provides the best stability for the district. Doherty's Garage, the local operator, would do a fantastic job. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, Anna Seedzik, 227 Highland, S as in Sam, IE, D as in dog, Z as in zebra, IK. I'd like to speak to you tonight bearing my hat as a former school committee member. I remember meetings like this during COVID, and I just want to emphasize to the committee and also to the public, it's a really uncomfortable feeling to know that whatever decision you make will be embraced by part of the community as the best thing ever, and you will also be hated by part of the community for ruining their life. During COVID, there was never always a clear option because it was uncharted territory. It was a pandemic, none of us knew what to do, and state guidance was frankly really lacking. So it was a hard time for us on the committee, and there's a similarity to that moment now to today. You're going to get feedback. Oh, thank you for the light. You're going to get feedback both ways, and I just want to acknowledge that's really hard, and I hope the public recognizes that you all take your work very seriously, and that's not a great feeling. But there's a really big difference between COVID to today. The difference is we actually have a clear, obvious, right choice, not right based on emotion or anecdotal feelings or what you think about kids or teachers. We actually have expert testimony on a variety of points, all of which leads you to continuing to pursue the consolidated option. It's different because you have, number one, the teachers themselves, who I would argue are the most knowledgeable people about what our kids really need and what kind of environment they really need to work, because they work in it. Our teachers, not unanimously, but by a margin almost unheard of within the union, at an 80% threshold, support this project. We talk about respecting our teachers. Respecting our teachers starts with valuing their professional opinion. I think we have to acknowledge the expertise of the teachers supports the school. Secondly, you have the FinComs, who arguably have done the most work on the financial analysis. Not napkin math, not a spreadsheet they made themselves. They've actually put in hours of time studying the pros and cons of various options. And both town FinComs do unanimously agree this is the most financially wise long-term investment in our district. And that's unusual because for those of us who followed the FinComs and the district don't always agree on things.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Lastly, you have the expertise of almost a dozen years of different boards who have looked at this problem a million different ways, including you. You know as much about the process and the MSBA and the guidelines and the criteria. If you take a step back and look at all of the voices of knowledge, the most knowledgeable people all agree that consolidation is best. So unlike COVID, when you don't have a clear answer, you have that in
3
terms
minutes.
of base, plus you have the majority on your side. Please continue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Jay Burnham, B-U-R-N-H-A-M, 21 North Street in Hamilton. Some of you will remember me as a founding member of a group called Enough is Enough, sometimes called EIE. It was actually a political action committee that was registered with the state as Hamilton Wenham Residents for Fiscal Responsibility. One of the major initiatives that committee did was to get both towns to come together to authorize and to fund an $80,000 operational audit from an independent outside firm. This is a copy of that report. It was 377 pages long. There were over 100 recommendations. About 30 of them were fiscally involved. The reason I bring that up is that there's a lot of talk about how things have just been rushed through, or we've only been doing this for 2 years or 4 years or 6 years or 8 years. But this report came out 15 years ago. And although it was not part of the scope of the operational audit, there were comments that were made in it, and I quote, "Consider a new school on the Cutler site. This will allow for easier phasing of construction with less impact on educational function. The new Cutler School could be a consolidation opportunity." It went on to say, of the 3 Hamilton Wenham residential school district elementary schools, Cutler appears to be the most likely candidate for demolition and rebuilding. Demolition and rebuilding should only be considered if such a move would save considerable money over renovations and additions. Since the school is located on the largest of 3 elementary school sites, a new school could conceivably be erected while the existing schools remain in use. So, 15 years we've been kicking this can down the road. I think it's long enough. At the recent Hamilton special town meeting, one of the opponents
30 seconds.
My mother used to say, "What part of no don't you understand?" My mother used to say the same thing. But I think today it'd be more apt with 6 votes, clear majorities in favor of consolidation, that the phrase should be, "What part of yes don't you understand?" And I request that the school committee consider a ballot vote with a majority. Thank you.
3 minutes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Leneker. My last name is Lenocker. I am a Hamilton resident, a mother of 3, 1 at Cutler, 2 at the high school, and both of the older 2 went to Winthrop Elementary. I come before you, this is like we have to be brave and courageous to stand up here in front of people. And I know people, dear friends of mine, people that I have been in relationship with on both sides of this issue. And I know that we stand here and sit here sweating in front of you to show support on either side. And what I really want to share is just that we come with the passion on either side. And the passion that I bring, that I just want to clarify, is that there's a population lacking here tonight, and that is the students and the majority of the staff. And so that's what I can bring, is to represent them. Staff at Winthrop and Cutler, morale is lower because of the conditions that they work in. Students know very clearly and can communicate how Cutler and Winthrop are a very dark place, a dank place, locations in the school that some of the students have to actually be educated in are unfavorable, and that plays an impact both on the staff side and the student side. I do also want to just mention that when we talk about space and lack of space, what's happening currently at the Winthrop for next year is that because of our special programs and because of our moving to 5 days with our STEM, that we actually have to take our bubble class that's moving from kindergarten to first grade. There's no space to carry that third classroom. So we are folding those three classrooms into
30
two.
seconds.
Thank you. Which means that what we are trying to do on both sides of this issue is to keep classroom size low, and we're not able to do that at a small school. So these are some of our largest first grade classes because we are absolutely out of space, and the only way to gain that space is through a thoughtful, long-term process that we've been talking about. So please consider consolidation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to just take a quick pause. Do we have someone on Zoom?
Yeah, we had an issue with the waiting room, so
Okay.
I just pulled everybody in the meeting, so if anybody's online.
Here's where we are. So it's 7:30 now. If you remember, I said we would
Hold on,
take
George,
a
we'll get right
pause
to
at 7:30. We haven't had the opportunity to hear from anyone who's on Zoom yet. They have, I think, successfully gotten themselves in some line. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. I want the room to hear, this may be difficult for you to hear, but I want the room to hear that there are at least 10 people in line here, and I don't know how many in line on Zoom. I do want to hear from some people on Zoom because I want to give people that option. I am not sure, I want the group here to be prepared that it is possible that not everyone here or on Zoom might have the opportunity to speak. If you remember at the beginning of the meeting, I mentioned that we would let public comment go until about 7:30 and then we would reassess. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a couple people on Zoom, then we're going to make an assessment about how many more people really feel like they need to speak. Okay? All right. Work with me. We're trying to make sure everyone knows what's going on. All right.
Hey, Mr. King, you are up.
All right. Good evening, and let's make sure that we can hear him before we get started. I think can the committee all hear him?
Barely.
Okay. I think we're going to turn your mic up just a little bit. I think the committee can all hear you, but I want to make sure that the room can hear you as well.
Is that mic on?
Okay, HW Cam, can you check the mic that's here on the Zoom? That's a great solution, thank you. I like that thinking outside the box.
Makes sense.
All right, Mr. King, can you give it another try so we can hear you?
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I can't hear you all that well. My name is George King, and I represent a group of citizens from Hamilton and Wenham and their concerns about the school project. So I speak to you as their attorney, but I also had a lengthy career myself as a public administrator including over 10 years as a senior administrator in a Massachusetts regional school district. So I understand the issues you face. And I found many things carry over nicely between my two careers, specifically a respect for the rules and for process. Every day in court, I have to follow a myriad of rules. And in schools, of course, we set expectations, demands, and demand reasonable performance by our students. These are important life lessons for everybody to respect the process. My clients are concerned the school committee, the educational leaders of the district, are considering disrespecting these very basic tenets. In other words, changing the rules in the middle of the game, something we would never let our kids do. When you discuss amending the regional agreement or attempting to use another state law in a way that was not intended to get your desired outcome, that is what you're doing. Now really is the time to understand why the project has not been successful and what can be done to coalesce support around the project that can be successful. Will it take longer than you desire? Maybe, but that's really building the strength of the community. Working towards a goal, not forcing your way, is the best and only way. So on behalf of my clients, be assured a quick detour around the rules you do not like presently to get to your goal won't be easily attained. It's not going to work that easily. My clients will challenge legally any attempt to change the debt approval process. Your regional agreement is very clear on how debt is to be issued. Your regional agreement is very well thought out, and it actually raises the bar over state law requirements. That was obviously intentional. So the intent of the people who wrote that, the framers of the agreement, they knew what the minimum state requirements were, and they raised them. There's no doubt about that. So an attempt by the school committee to circumvent those intentions, short-circuiting the process, will have to be legally challenged. But for my clients, and I would suspect others, so I'd ask that you show leadership, realize that your solution, well intended, was not something the community as a whole in the required amount was willing to support. And I ask you to look long and hard at obtaining a solution that could be embraced by the community and resist any urge to barrel through roadblocks that were thoughtfully installed. Does not do any good for anybody.
30 seconds.
To just ram through them.
30 seconds. I think he's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Tracy, do we have another person on Zoom that
Anybody
might want
else
to
on
speak?
Zoom that would like to speak? So we can see everybody. Nope.
Okay. All right, so just so the room and everyone hears, so I am not going to go back to the Zoom line. It doesn't look like anyone there has their hands up, so we're going to not go back to Zoom. I'm going to ask the committee now, again, I'm inclined to extend the public comment for a few more minutes. I'm looking to the committee, whether people are comfortable with extending for a few more minutes. I am concerned that I do not think we will be able to extend for the entirety. It's unclear to me exactly how many people are in line back there, but I'm game to say, let's say 5 more people? Committee? Committee?
Yeah, I think 5 makes sense. I mean,
I'd like to watch the meeting.
it's, well, we have more business to get to too, so.
So,
This is not,
so
this
I'm
is not
actually,
a debate.
right now, I'm actually just asking the committee whether they are comfortable with the
Right.
extension of the time.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna have 5 more comments, and then again, we're gonna check in with you. Okay? All right, please, thank you for waiting. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Tracy, we.
Oh, I stole his mic, sorry. This one working now?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this mic on now?
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's good for now, right? We're gonna need it later, though. Hold on, I want to be focused on your comment, I don't.
I can try to get a different mic.
Yeah, we'll need it
We'll need it
late.
soon,
We'll
yeah.
definitely need it later. Okay, I appreciate your patience, thank you.
My name's Tapley Stevenson, 18 Lake Avenue, Wenham. Last name Stephenson. Is that better?
There you go.
I can hear you.
I'm here about the system. Having to take out the 2/3 that was put in there by the towns to avoid big problems like this is the reason it was put in there. The last town meeting I was at, there was over 600 people. I don't think there's 75 people here. So I'm fairly certain that not many people know about this meeting. I'm for democracy. Democracy requires that everybody has the opportunity. I don't think you people want the full towns, both towns, to vote on this. I think you want a consolidated school. This is not the right way to do it. In my opinion, why don't you just put forth an executive order and just tell us all to go to heck?
What number do you want?
It's done down in Washington. Why can't the school committee do it? Thank you.
Thank you.
We do have one online.
Good evening.
Yeah, perfect, thanks.
Hi, Deb Safford, 46 Maple Street. Just want to say, none of this is personal. So to say that we're going to hate you or people are going to hate you, that seems like a veiled threat. So let's just wipe that away. We're all going to be adults here, and we're just going to deal with the process. It's really about the process. It's not even anymore about the project. If we were taught basic civics, of course, we would understand that our country operates as a constitutional republic. We just said it in the pledge. We are informed by democratic decision-making. We are not a straight-up democracy. So this means that law triumphs over opinion and desire. Mob rule is the simple majority deciding something and then demanding it happen. Rule of law ensures protection, so all get a fair trial. This is the equity we all seek. Equal opportunity for justice. A civil society, of course, is based on common understandings of law, structure, and processes. There are people here pushing for an override of the agreed-to process to toss out results from the town meeting. Considering tossing out the agreement because you don't like the answer is ascribed to lawlessness, and frankly, it feels a little petty. We don't always get what we want, but aren't we all adults here modeling for our children how to handle disappointment? This is basic parenting. Do we let our kids decide the rules that they like and the ones that they don't, and they can change those? Of course not. And again, like how we handle this and how we've positioned and framed these discussions, our kids and our teachers, of course, are picking up on that. You know, and of course they feel miserable. It's really sad to see that they're feeling so dark in those rooms. Winthrop is a beautiful building. So I think maybe they're just picking up some of the vibe in the community that they're in a crappy place and therefore they should be miserable. Rules and laws, of course, exist in a society to protect the minority against this mob rule. Changing rules is a tactical maneuver because a simple majority dislikes the answer. It dishonors the process and it fractures the basis for civil society. I ask those who protest Trump being a king to consider their own actions in this case, where they are unhappy and seeking to be king and change the rules to suit them. I ask the League of Women Voters, who are weekly protesting the importance of honoring the vote, to be consistent in this circumstance as well. Let us not be hypocrites here. After 4 total votes taken at prior Hamilton and Wenham town meetings, the decision-making has run its course. The known threshold before this all started has not been met. We don't want a school size of Brockton and Fall River for our elementary school. It's just a simple fact. There's a lot of reasons why people are against it, and there is nothing new in the arguments to position to do this again as another vote. People have been standing up here for 14, 15, 16 months saying, don't do it. This young man, Trent, he said the worst thing will happen is if we push ahead and we don't take a pause and restructure this and reconsider the negative opposition to this plan, and then we're going to end up without anything. And that's where we are. So you were prescient, Trent, and I'm sorry to see you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have more to say, but the opportunity cost
This is over. Thank you.
needs to be looked at. Thank you.
Good evening.
Ed McCarthy, 60 Cunningham Drive. We had a lot of people talk about 4 votes. Let's not also forget there was, during the first town meeting, there was a lease extension. That was voted down. That was another no. A group of citizens got together and put on the ballot a citizens petition. I brought it down to the Patton Estate to have that put on there, and that was no to renovation, no to consolidation, and explore the renovation possibilities. That was a no vote. There's more no votes out there. Please don't forget about them. About the 2/3 supermajority, it's a protection device, a circuit breaker, if you will. I'm an electrician. I'm sorry I couldn't let that one go by. But it is a circuit breaker so that when the revenue streams come in from 2 different towns across different demographics against people who are just getting by, and please, I'm going to mention the elderly over and over again. The town talked about, well, it's $1,500 or $2,000. Let's be realistic. This is over $30,000 out of your pocket, over and above your taxes. And if you have a house of greater value, it's even more than that. So it's a lot of money. And that's what the 2/3 protection is for. Are we all on board? And I was the guy who was always on board, and I voted for every single override for our teachers. Every single one I voted for, because the money was going to a good place and it was well spent. It wasn't going to the Taj Mahal, it was going into the teachers' pockets. The schools that my kids went to, the Cutler and on to the middle school, they helped teach them values of integrity and respect. And they helped form these kids into who they are today. And this school committee did a great job of educating. So let me tell you that what you instilled in the kids, I would like you to adhere to yourself. Please be respectful of the people like myself who reach into their wallet every year and come up with $10,000 for salaries and for schools. And I know a lot of people volunteer their time here, but that money that we come up with, and this whole room comes up with, that's a lot of money. Be respectful to the people who pay the freight.
30 seconds.
And have done it year after year after year. If you could educate and instill those values in our children, I ask you to adhere to the goodness that you instilled in them. As somebody said before, they stole my line. Respect the process, respect the vote that took place, and please respect the people that you represent. We are a republic. It's a democracy, and we are a republic.
3 minutes.
And you represent us. Thank you very much for all you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good evening.
Susan Norman, 24 Lee Park. First time speaking, and I have gotten involved in this with the first vote. We spent 5.5 hours at the town meeting voting on this, and then voted at the ballot, and then spent another 3.5 hours re-voting on it. So basically, you are asking us how we feel about this issue. And as I was thinking today, it most definitely affects me financially. And I have a 92-year-old mother who I care for, and I work as much as I can to keep up with things. But I was thinking today about the whole process, and the words that came to me were selfish, manipulative, disrespectful, confidence, democratic process. And, you know, selfishness, when you don't get what you want and you manipulate it to get what you want, that is selfishness. And so, you know, this whole process in terms of being confident that I have a vote and that that vote will be respected really is not something I can say honestly that I feel confident anymore, and I think a lot of other people do too. So I do ask respectfully that you consider my feelings and others, and I thank you very much for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. So Welcome. So just so everyone is clear, the current next speaker, the gentleman at the podium right now, is the 5th speaker that we discussed earlier, a few minutes ago. Please begin.
Hi, my name's Dan Hogan. I live at 59 Willow Street, and I have 2 grandchildren, 11 and 12, and I want the best schools for them and the best teachers. But I don't think I teach them, so you have to respect the vote. You know, how many times we have to come? We're gonna keep, when does this stop? Till you get your way? Vote after vote after vote, and tonight it's over 100 degrees, no heat, but that didn't stop you guys, you know? And it's just that, you know, you have a beautiful community, 2 towns, Wenham and Hamilton. That's why people come here. You know, I hate to see that you divide the people and destroy the towns, because we all know this is associated with 3A, and there's no getting around it. I just want to remind the committee and the people here that the MBTA has a $80 billion instructional deficit, and the federal government is $37 trillion in debt. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we passed a voter mandate by 70% to audit them. You think we have that audit done yet? No. So when you talk about compliance, let them do it first. Let them show good faith by doing that first. If you had a portfolio and you would want the federal government, the MBTA, and the Commonwealth of Mass running your portfolio, I think not. But I just hope, I came from a different city and it was destroyed. You guys don't know what you have. You have beautiful communities, you know, and I think, you know, there should be a solution on the school plan. That could be done, but keep changing the rules as you go along. You're just getting people angry. And it's not, you know, I know people, some people, I'm not going to say which, that they say, well, they don't understand, you know what I mean? We know better than you, you know, but don't think everybody else is stupid. You know what I mean? We know every game you're playing because you use the same playbook. Every different town that they wanted 3A, all right? So respect the vote. And you want to respect is not given, it's earned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just feel more in line.
So as I hope that the people in the room are seeing that I'm trying to honor what my word. So we stopped after 5 people. We're checking in. It appears there's 4 people left. I'm hesitant to go beyond 8 o'clock, but I'm going to look at the committee. I am willing to let those 4 people speak if people from the committee. We have a very long agenda.
There's one online.
I did already say that we were not going to go back to Zoom. I'm sorry for that person, but we gave lots of opportunity on Zoom. Okay, I'm seeing no objection. All right, so can I see, I don't see the last person in line. Okay, so that is, the last person is raising her hand there. That will be the last person, and then public comment will be closed.
I'm melting.
Please approach the podium. Good evening.
I'll be less than a minute, should be. Stephen McWhorter, 18 Cunningham Drive. I'm going to represent 4 groups of people. The MSBA.
A little closer, Steve. Just, yeah.
I'm going to represent the MSBA, teachers, the children, and the town of Hamilton. MSBA, they have a model school program. You can build these schools half the time, a third of the budget. Andover and Lexington are in the program right now. I don't know what's wrong with our educational plan, but theirs qualify for that. I'm asking you to consider that. I've recommended it to the MSBA, and you know, I think we can move forward with ideas like that. You know, the other issue is the lot there is going to eat you up. There's hydraulic pressure on it. It's between 2 of the biggest wetlands you've ever seen. Mother's Day flood, 10 inches of rain went through that lot. Your school will be crumpled You won't be able to put a septic system. Forget about negative stuff. Let's go to the teachers. Last summer, spoke with Gloucester teachers in a consolidated school. They said 440, almost unteachable. Last week, met a Beverly teacher, unsolicited. He said, Beverly Consolidated School, awful to teach in. I'm just being a voice of what's out in the street. And out in the street, the small school sign, now you're gonna hear from the students, your customers. More than one occasion, one pulled up with their parents, could read, I was thrilled. You know, a young grade schooler considered it, looked at it and said, small schools, I agree with that. So now we go to the town. I've knocked on 2,000 doors in this town. I have an idea what the people are saying and what they want. Maybe not all of them can get to that voting ballot, but under these circumstances, I'm going to encourage you to vote for another ballot. The more people we have, the better it is. Hamilton, we're only 13 people away from just
30
a
seconds.
regular majority. Wenham will cover their 180. So do whatever you want. We're going to protect our town. And thank you for all the work you do. And going forward, we're here to help you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tosh Blake, Sagamore Street, Tosh Blake. Yeah, I'd just like to agree with a lot of what people said about the process. I think it's kind of annoying to have my time and a lot of other people's times wasted going to votes where it probably was already decided that you would do whatever by every means necessary to overturn the results of those legitimately taken votes to move a process forward that you want to have done. I understand you a lot of time and emotion invested in the project, but procedurally it's I wonder why we have voting, you know, if you could just override, change the stuff. But my bigger point is, which hasn't been brought up here, and some officials in town have brought up recently after the first vote was taken, is the real estate issue, and someone mentioned 3A, one of our committee members shook her head when someone brought 3A up, it pertains to the Winthrop site and school capacity. So if we get rid of Winthrop and there's more development in town, whether it's due to 3A or extra 40B because of 3A, by right development, your consolidated school could quickly run out of capacity for students. And I haven't seen any plans where you could expand it vertically or outward. So if you give up that Winthrop site, and it'll have to be voted on and all that, but the town manager of Hamilton says he'd advise it be sold off. There could be development be put there, and you could have, combined with 3A in both towns, 1,000 or more students needing to go to an elementary school. So I think it's extremely short-sighted of this committee to give up that site as an educational site. Now, even Mr. McGrath of the FinCom, he said, and maybe he was just kind of bluffing a little to get it on the warrant. He said that would still might have to be an operational school. This is in a recent meeting of the Select Board in Hamilton. He said it still may have to operate as a school, even with a consolidated school, because of future potential capacity. I think the smarter thing is to keep both schools operational, Cutler and Winthrop. You know, I know it might be more onerous for the children as if you do it to renovate and expand, but there's certainly room on both sides to renovate and expand. That might go somewhat against the small schools ideal, but just as a practical matter, if 3A comes down and hits us hard with a lot of new enrollment, it's extremely short-sighted to give up a huge property like Winthrop, which functions as a school and could be easily expanded. I haven't heard much discussion about that from the committee. I've been to a bunch of these meetings, and you know, there seems to be an allergy to mention 3A with it, but even, you know, Mr. Emil Dahlquist and Marnie Crouch of the Planning Board says it's an intertwined issue with the Winthrop site. So if you give up that site, it becomes high-density apartments. You're going to have potentially a lot more students in the school. So, you know, maybe this could be an out if you didn't want to bulldoze this through, to think you might need those two sites for two schools, because I don't see how you're going to expand the Cutler site much beyond what the plan calls for. You know, so you kind of maybe have a difference with Mr. McGrath with the equity issue. If he says there should be two schools open and you guys are dead set against having two schools because of equity issue, they're not the same, maybe rethink it and try to scale down and do the expansion and renovation.
3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi, Michelle Bailey, 2 Remington Road. Plenty I could say. It comes down to this. I was in this room at that meeting Mr. Burnham referred to earlier, 15 years ago. At that time, we were looking at consolidating the schools. It was determined that Cutler was at that time, we thought Winthrop was going to be the site that would be demolished because the town of Hamilton wanted that site for economic development. And here we are 15 years later, same story. We have the chance now to do the right thing and just put this issue to bed. We need to have a vote of the town. It is the most open process. It gives everybody an opportunity to vote. There will be absentee voting, so if you're out of town and can't make it to town meeting, there will be early voting so that you can go and do it in person. There'll be day of voting so that you can do that. It is the only way we will know the true will of the town. I also want to point out that our government, it's been talked about the process. Our government has many checks and balances. Our court system has appeal after appeal after appeal. This is your last appeal. It's as if you're going to the Supreme Court, the entire community. And at that point, we will have an answer. We will have the final decision on what we're going to do going forward. I know the job you do is difficult. I know it is hard. I know and understand the people in this room, but it's time. Please put it to the vote, and we will turn out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, and just one second. Just so the entire room is clear, the speaker who is standing at the podium will be the final speaker in the public comment section. Good evening, you may begin.
Linda Mastriani, M-A-S-T-R-I-A-N-N-I. I live on Maple Street in Hamilton. I have spoken over and over and over again as a graduate, as a teacher, as a parent of graduates, as a grandmother of kids coming in, as a taxpayer, as everything that is connected to these schools. I think everyone knows my position, honestly. There's nothing else I can say. What I'd like to do is take 3 minutes to try and rebut all the misinformation I've heard, but it would take more than 3 minutes. So instead, I would just like to say thank you to the school committee for recognizing tonight 178 years of teachers who are retiring this year. That is what makes our district special. That is what is most important in our district. And yes, teachers can teach anywhere, as I can tell you right now, because we are indeed teaching in hallways and closets. But it is hard to keep teachers when we don't have the same facilities and the same pay that you can get by going to Manchester, Essex, or by going to another nearby town. So I will let you go. I appreciate you letting me be the last speaker. I would like to just say thank you very much to all of those retiring teachers and staff, and have a great summer.
Thank you. Distribute those to you. Sure.
Can I just make a point of order? I don't have a speech, real quick.
No,
hold on.
No, I was very...
Zoom guys can hear you calling people names, so I'd be careful.
I was very...
And a moron, and everybody on Zoom heard it.
Excuse me, I was very clear, and I have been so impressed. I have been so impressed with this entire process. I appreciate everyone following along methodically. That was a long time. It's hot. I appreciated all the comments. I think I speak for the entire school committee when I say we appreciated very much the emails. There were many, many, many emails on this topic, and it is really important to get those emails and to hear what people say, and I am grateful for all of them. Okay. At this point, we are going to move forward on our agenda. Next up is a portion of the review of our school committee protocols. David.
Excuse me. As elected members of the Hamilton Regional School Committee, we, including the superintendent, accept the high honor and trust
that has been placed in us to ensure that the students of the district receive the best education possible. To that end, we hereby commit to the following in the conduct of our business. School committee members will channel requests for information, reports, and data through the superintendent and the school committee chair rather than the staff. The superintendent will ensure that each member of the committee has equal access to this information in a timely manner, recognizing the importance of proactive communication and avoiding surprises. School committee members will, whenever possible, contact the school committee chair and/or the superintendent in advance of a meeting if they have questions or concerns about an agenda item, or will ask the chair at least 48 hours prior to a meeting that an item be placed on an agenda.
Thank you. Next up, Amy is going to read a portion of our mission statement.
The Hamilton-Wenham Regional School District School Committee's mission is to ensure our schools create graduates with a passion for lifelong learning, together with the critical skills needed to maximize their potential. The Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee will lead and inspire a district that is a source of civic pride and municipal engagement to serve the community for generations to come.
Thank you. I'm just going to pause. Mr. Tracy, I want to make sure that everybody except our school committee members has left the Zoom, and they all know that the best way to watch is on HWCam.
Yep, we've been
Okay,
sending them
great.
messages the whole time.
Great, thank you so much. Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. Does anyone have any items from the consent agenda that they would like to hold? Julia or David Frankel?
Julia's.
Nope.
No, all set.
Okay. All right. David?
Excuse me, I move that the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee accept the consent agenda as presented in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Second by Amy Kunberger. Because we have some members participating remotely, we will do a roll call vote. I'm going to start with our Zoom members. Julia?
Yes.
David Frankel?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
David Polito?
Yes.
And Dana's a yes. And that is unanimous of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 voting members. Okay, I wanted to just take a moment to acknowledge on this list of donations. I mean, it's, to be honest, I was just really overwhelmed by the sort of amazing grants provided by the Ed Fund, and I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that, because it's really transformative. So thank you to the Ed Fund if you're out there. All right. I'm wondering whether the committee needs a moment.
Lost two.
Well, and
Trent's back.
and Vinny too.
Here comes Trent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just went to the bathroom.
All right. Just making sure the committee you can let me know if you have a point of personal comfort. If you need a moment, you can just let me know. Okay. To you, Mr. Tracy, on recognizing retired staff.
Thank you very much. It is my honor to present this list of our staff members who have dedicated their time, efforts, and hearts to our schools, our children, and our communities. I'd like to just name them out. I think it's important. They've really spent hundreds of years here in the district together. Scott Buchert, teacher at the middle school, 21 years of service. Nancy Canister, an ESP at the high school, 17 years of service. Phil Coleman, a custodian here at the Bucher for 11 years. Kathleen DiCiaccio, teacher at the middle school, 25 years. Nancy Duffy, teacher at the Cutler, 18 years. Lori Meany, teacher at the high school, 32 years. Donna Stevens worked in the cafeteria at the Cutler for 31 years, and Karen Senning, ESP at the Winthrop School for 23 years. This is is bittersweet. We are losing some really potent educators and people who really believe in our children. And by their dedication, their time they have spent here, it's tough to see them go, but we are wishing them the best as they move off into the next phase of their life. And one thing I've always say to our retirees is once a teacher, always a teacher, so they will probably end up somewhere back in some form of education. So congratulations to all the retirees.
I don't know if any other members want to say anything. I just wanted to say thank you, and because my kids are a little bit older, every year it's hard to see all the teachers that I recognize from their experience graduate.
I was thinking my senior year was Lori Maney's first year teaching.
Yeah. And I remember Donna in the cafeteria taking, my son Daniel won some sort of a prize, and he got to pick the menu for the week. Donna did a whole nutrition lesson with him. It was lovely, years and years and years ago. Okay, next up, we have Mr. Menegoni to discuss the student handbook changes. Just so the committee knows, we have reviewed much of this before.
Good evening, everyone. When I arrived tonight, I looked up and I thought, wow, people are really excited to learn about the student handbook changes. Quite a turnout. I learned after a little bit, though, perhaps we're here for a different reason. But thank you for having me here tonight. Just want to go through student handbook changes for next year. As you can see, I've given you a track changes version of the proposed changes for next year. In addition, you should also have a summary of the proposed changes. And I thought I would just point to 4 substantive ones that don't involve changing dates or names, things like that. The first substantive change has to do with grading system at the high school on page 12. And the story behind this was pre-COVID, our semester grades were determined by 2 quarter grades and an exam grade, and that exam grade carried a weight of 20%. And then when COVID hit, we stepped away from exams and kind of talked internally about what would be the most appropriate thing to do as we're trying to get back to a normal way of doing things. And after we started exams again, we moved to have the exams be 10% of semester grades. And we've run through that a couple of years now and learned perhaps that students may or may not be seeing the exam as something that is deserving of as much attention as it should get. Knowing that most of our kids are going on to college, and in a college setting, a lot of times exams are really your grade for a class, we thought we could offer a better way to perhaps prepare them. So what we plan to do next year is to actually have a developmentally appropriate grading system when considering how we determine semester grades. So for grade 9, because they're so far away from actually taking an exam in college, we're going to have the exams count for 10% of the semester grade. When you get to grade 10, we're going to up it a little bit to 15%, and juniors and seniors, it will be back to the way of doing business previously, where the exam counts for 20% of the semester grade. That's something we spent a couple of faculty meetings going over, reviewed that with the curriculum leaders, and that's kind of where we landed. And again, that was to align us with where our kids primarily are headed, but also to do it in a developmentally appropriate and responsible manner. The second item of substance that I would point you to has to do with the graduation requirement area, specifically the competency determination. As you're aware, in November, through a ballot measure, MCAS was removed as part of the competency determination for high school students to receive a diploma. The state then put it back on school districts to figure out what exactly they're going to do because the CD didn't really go away. So we're going to do what most districts are doing. In other words, they need to pass a course equivalent to the standards that are measured by MCAS. So we're saying that is English 10, geometry, and biology. Now, biology is a grade 9 course. However, that is the science exam that we give in school. So when students pass those 3 courses, which they need to do anyways as part of the graduation requirements, they will have earned the competency determination and then are eligible for a high school diploma. On a side note, we've done some listening with the state about directions they may be headed in terms of how they're going to handle the CD. And it looks like they could be going in a very different direction perhaps. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for us right now to try to invent something when the state may just step in and give us an entirely new system altogether.
Can I jump in on that right there? And this is probably going to be a 1-year set, only because I'm part of a subcommittee of the superintendent's, Massachusetts Superintendent's Group that's working with the State House to determine what the next steps are for graduation requirements. Now that MCAS has been taken off the table, the governor created a fairly large committee of people that are studying this, and then there are a number of opportunities right now, both online and in person, to kind of weigh in on what you think about what the graduation requirements should be across the state. And one of the things we're learning really quickly is if you leave it to the individual schools, they'll all be very different. So there's a new commissioner coming in soon to be sworn in, I think this week, and that will start the ball rolling towards this council to determine what the actual outcomes will be, probably in the fall. But we're kind of just waiting for them to do meetings with the public and online meetings so that they can gather information about thoughts that people have. So this will probably need to be re-examined again next year or partway through the school year if the state changes the requirements.
Okay. And the final 2 changes that I would like to discuss are in the student conduct portion of the handbook. And just for your information, both of these items were voted on and accepted by school council in the April and May meetings, as required by law. The first change has to do with conduct at athletic and extracurricular events. Recently, there have been a number of issues on Cape Ann League, Massachusetts, and also nationwide related to fan behavior at athletic events. And it's become a real challenge for athletic directors and school administrators, just dealing with some of the crazy things that happen in the crowd. These are high school events. These are not major college events or professional sports events. These are things where we are trying to show our best selves in the community and also trying to model appropriate behavior as our students grow towards adulthood. So the change really that we have put in the student handbook is in response to that. It's also an opportunity for us because we will be opening up the new outdoor athletic facility, and we would expect to have some pretty good crowds there. And I think it's a time for us to show the Cape Ann League and the rest of the schools that we play, that you can cheer positively for your classmates and, again, put your best face forward. So what we've done in the student handbook is try to show, number one, what some positive fan behaviors are and then what some negative fan behaviors are. This is not meant to be all-inclusive, but a lot of times when you see in student handbooks, it's kind of vague. As we talked about this at the school council level, we felt that it was important to just give some concrete examples of what both positive and negative behavior looks like. Consequences that we laid out really are kind of aligned with MIA policy in terms of what happens if a student athlete is removed from an event.
Brian, I'm going to just pause you for a second. Jen has a question.
Okay.
I don't see any of the examples of positive or negative behavior in the copy we have.
There's a link in the
Okay.
electronic version of it that you can click on and should take you there.
I was going to say great minds think alike, because I was like, there's sort of a paragraph that gives general, like it says expected to support and cheer for their classmates in a positive manner, but that's not what you mean.
No,
You mean
there's a pretty good long list of about a dozen
So that
good
was-
things and not so good things. It's linked in there. But anyways, what we've done is really try to align with what happens with student athletes if they're removed from a contest by a game official. So if event staff, at the high school has to remove a student from an athletic or could be any extracurricular activity, that student will have to miss the next scheduled event. Okay? And if a student comes back and then is removed again that same year, they will miss all athletic and extracurricular events for a year, which is what the MIA does. So I think it sends a pretty clear message. You have to work pretty hard to get thrown out once, and if you do it twice, you're working extra hard. You know, kids on the playing field, you're in a competitive situation. Okay, I think tempers boil over there, but I don't think there's a reason for adults or students to be doing that in the stands. The second item is something that I had already come to the committee probably about a month ago or so. And this has to do with the cell phone policy at the high school, where we are going to an away for the day policy. Students will turn in their cell phones at the start of the day. They will be out without them for the entire school day. And at the end of the day, they have a few minutes to go back to their homerooms and pick them up. We've met with all of the kids. We had a webinar, or I had a whopping 3 parents at it. So we've made kids and parents aware of what's happening. You know, and I would expect there to be some challenges early on, just because it's new for us at the high school, both adults and kids. But you know, we're looking forward to re-engaging with each other more. You know, being where your feet are, and establishing those close relationships that a lot of times cell phones, quite frankly, get in the way of. So those are the 4 items that I have for you right now. I will have probably another update in mid to late August. I believe you have an August 21st meeting, at which time I will bring forth another one. But this is what I have for now, and so just wanted to get your feedback on where we're at.
So just so we're clear, so you're not looking for a vote this evening, you're looking for feedback, is that correct?
Feedback or a vote on what has been proposed,
Okay,
so
I
that
just wanna
way
make sure I
we can
understand.
we can
Yeah, we
start to
could
build
vote
the
on
student
this, but you
handbook.
might have some additional
Yep.
edits
I
by
have one additional item to consider later this summer.
I
but-
just wanted to make sure I understood what you were looking for.
Yep.
All right, questions for Mr. Menegoni? David and Julia, do you guys have questions?
I don't have questions.
Anybody else in the room have questions? Jen?
I actually do have a question, only because a community member brought this to my attention. I forget if it was on page 12 or 13. Let me just scroll back and see.
It's 13.
Page 12, is it, you're looking on the document or the number
On the
page?
document. On the weighting of the grades on page 13, it was brought to my attention that Hamilton Wenham weights their grades very, very differently from other schools in the district, potentially to the detriment of schools if we have any colleges or universities using weighted GPAs.
So that's the very item that I'll be bringing to you in August. So, thank
Okay.
you.
Then I will hold my question until August.
Other questions? Grant?
I've just got one. Full support of this new cell phone policy. Very exciting. One thing that I think we brought up the last time that you presented on this was cell phone is problematic because it allows access to apps and messaging and communication that's very distracting in school. If we get rid of cell phones, we give them devices. Are we just changing the device upon which these things are going to be accessed?
So that's, I think, a good point to bring up. The thing with cell phones is that they fit in your pocket. You walk around with them. They go into the bathroom with you, which is kind of disgusting to think about, but it happens. If you walk into the bathroom with your laptop, I have bigger questions. I just think that the size of that particular device creates some additional challenges. Kids can have it, I've seen it, it's on their lap, while they're supposed to be working, they're also texting away or doing who knows what. I think it's easier to monitor kids on an iPad or a laptop in the classroom, especially if you're running your class as you should, you're moving around, getting behind kids, seeing what they're doing. It's a little bit easier to hide on a cell phone. you know, and there will be challenges because we are going to make the messaging app available on the iPads, and they certainly, if you have a MacBook or something, you can have that, because we've chosen not to go in the direction of being an all Chromebook school or something like that, because I think kids do still need access to information. You know, there are going to be the same schedule changes for sports that they have to respond to. You know, parents may need to remind kids, like, you got to go pick your brother up after school, please don't leave him stranded. Those kinds of things, you know, we're trying to work with parents about, you know, when is the best time to do that kind of stuff, what's the best way. We're also trying to push kids more towards using email as a way of doing business, because that's what's going to happen when they leave the high school. You know, you don't get Snapchatted by your professors, hopefully, when you're in college, and things like that. So they really need to move to that medium, I think, of using email. And if a parent has a very important, immediate message that needs to be given to a student, they should contact the main office, so that way we can relay that as quickly as possible. So yeah, there's still going to be challenges because they have devices. You know, we do manage the iPads. We don't manage the other devices that they may bring into school. But again, I think a lot of it comes just down to classroom management, and the phone's just a little bit insidious in that they're hidden, and they go everywhere with the kids, and kids probably are not going to bust their laptops out at lunch too much. A lot of times what you will see at lunch tables now, though, is it's real easy to lay your phone on the table and just start scrolling instead of talking to the others who are around you. So thanks for asking that question. It'll be a little bit of push and pull, but I think in the end it will be better. Yeah, Jen?
When you first presented the cell phone policy, there was a medical waiver.
Yep.
For example, for students with type 1 diabetes or other diseases where they have to have their phone on them. That's not in the final policy. Is there a reason for that?
It should be, so I'll just add it.
Thank you.
Yep. Because it's been part of all the discussions that we've had, and I may just not have put that line in the draft that I gave you.
Are there other questions? All right, so David, do you feel like you can craft a motion
Sure.
if you want to?
Yeah, no.
Don't have to.
I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee vote to approve the updated high school student handbook as presented in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. Is there further discussion? Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. I will start here in the room. David Polito?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Dana's a yes. Jen?
Yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
David Frankel?
Yes.
And that is unanimous, and the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you in August.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
So, I'm going to take the temperature of the committee. I am mindful of the people in the room. I am appreciative of the calm demeanor and quiet room that has allowed us to do our meeting thus far. I'm going to ask the committee, given the comments that we heard, it appears that most people in the room are interested in item E on the agenda, which is the elementary school building project, next steps. I'm going to ask the committee whether people are comfortable moving that item up to address it now, to sort of honor that. But I want to hear from the committee if people are comfortable with that.
I think that makes sense.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't hear any objections.
I'm going to go to the bathroom really quick, though.
Okay.
But
so,
yes.
I know, and that's, I actually,
it now. I'll
no,
be right
please,
back.
please go, that's fine. So let's take, I could use a little water refill myself, so let's literally take a 60 seconds recess. I'm gonna get some extra water. We'll come back. We're recessed for
2 minutes?
60 seconds. I'm just gonna refill.
Pressure.
Oh, I actually found I had another one. I didn't even realize I had it. Thank you so
Julia is back.
Yep.
Good.
All right, come on back, people. Okay, we're back. Okay. Oh,
Oh, it's only going to be 90.
all right. Can you hear me? All right. All right. Welcome back. Okay. Welcome back. Oh, can I ask people to take your seats? All right, and we are back in session. Thank you all for that brief.
My laptop is on.
Here we go.
Can y'all hear me? Okay, thank you. Okay. So next up, so just so everyone's clear, we're going to do item E, elementary school building project, next steps, and then we will, after that, move back in order to item C, D, and F. Okay. I am open to starting this item with a motion, if the committee feels ready to hear a motion. I intend, just so the committee knows, I intend to make sure that each person has an opportunity to speak before anyone has had the opportunity to speak again. David?
Sure. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School Committee direct Superintendent Tracy to formally request a 90-day extension from the Massachusetts School Building Authority in order to secure the necessary debt authorization for the proposed Cutler Elementary School building project to allow sufficient time for placing the debt exclusion question before the voters of the district's member towns and completing the required local approval process.
Second.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. So just to clarify the motion, that motion is would direct the superintendent to request an extension. That motion doesn't provide the specifics of the method that would be sought out. Just so for clarity, I know that there is another motion. We did our homework because we want to be really diligent and careful to make sure that things are done accurately. So the motion on the table is to request an extension from the, or to direct the superintendent to request an extension from the MSBA. Is that correct, David?
Correct.
Okay. I would like the, I guess what I'm going to say is that I understand, we saw in all of our emails and in the comments this evening and in the work that we've done, that necessarily there's going to be overlap between the method and the request for an extension. So I think in discussion, I think we're going to understand that. I want to give everyone an opportunity to speak, should you want to. You're not required to. All right, looking to the committee. Who would like to speak?
Julia.
Julia.
Hi, I had to write it down. Okay. So can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Something that's getting lost in the debate around the school consolidation project, I feel like in the community conversations, is the children, the students, like what is best for them, their learning and their success. And to me, as an elected school committee member, my mandate is to do what is best for the children, all children. So, you know, people can call us selfish, they can call us thugs, we can take it, you know, we've been called way worse, because to me, you know, I'm fighting the good fight, I'm playing the long game, and I'm doing what I think in my individual way is best for the children of this district. So to me, in order to live in a community with high-performing schools, we need to keep and attract talented teachers and administrators. And I've heard a lot of people tonight and in emails claiming that they support teachers, but they don't support the new school project. And the problem with that is that 80% of the teachers want this school. And teachers have shown up in person, they've shown up here tonight, they've shown up at many meetings, they've shown up in numbers to support the school consolidation. They want to work in modern facilities and they want to support all of our learners. And I believe that supporting this project is supporting the teachers and is supporting our families and our children. And it's as simple as that. And I had to write this down and I looked up this quote, but to quote the Rolling Stones, which a lot of people have quoted this evening, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. I believe our district needs this school, and that's why I'm going to fight for this project. So I would encourage all of my fellow school committee members to vote yes on this motion.
Thanks, Julia. Trent, you look like you're ready to go.
I just have a point of order on
Yep.
this. The next motion that's coming is, I can't vote on this motion before I vote on the next motion. I have to understand the
Okay,
mechanism
fair. No, that's
before I decide whether or not it makes sense to make an extension.
okay. I think that's an excellent. I think that's an excellent point of debate, and that's why I tried to articulate that. Normally, I'm very careful about staying within the four corners of the motion and recognizing that in this particular scenario, the potential motions are tied. And I will just not to make it too complicated, but I'm really just talking to you, that in the hypothetical, right, this committee could vote to request an extension, and then they could create any number of plans, including no plan, including say, we just like more time, right? That's a theoretical. Again, this is hypothetical, theoretical. So it's, Eric did, because at the request of members, create a legally valid motion on a specific plan. It does not mean that someone on this committee could not make a motion for a different plan. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so, I'll just be transparent. The motion that is prepared is regarding the ballot vote, which is the Chapter 71, 16N portion of the law.
Yes.
That is the one that is prepared. But again, any number of things could hypothetically happen. I hope that answered, and someone please. So what do you need,
I would
you prefer to vote?
to vote on the second before
Okay.
the
Would
first.
you want to make a motion to?
I think we're still under the
TA?
constraints of the first motion.
Correct, but you could, again, you could.
Yeah, but,
you could.
so Dana,
Okay, go ahead.
before we even get there, right, because to Trent's point, and what I was really gonna say is I actually think Julia might have sort of jumped the gun here. I think it's our duty, right, in this motion to realize that we're coming up against the end of the deadline in just a few days, and just asking for a 90-day extension makes the most sense for the school committee, just to try and give us some time to figure out anything, whatever that may be. Because if we don't, then that, $49 million plus, right, is just gonna be gone, right? And we have days
So.
to not do that. But by asking for an extension, it gives us more time to figure out any alternative, right?
But I think that it's really important to understand what the empirical probabilities of the alternative are before deciding whether or not I support an extension.
Right.
Because I think that they're so inherently linked that I'm just not comfortable voting on this. I'm one member. You can all move
Right.
ahead without me. But I think that it makes sense, and I think what everybody's here to talk about is the second motion. And the first one, I think is something that I don't have a sense of how I would even vote on it without that information.
Okay. So, I guess what I'm,
Withdraw the motion.
are you, I'm looking to you for what action you're looking to take.
I think that we should discuss the motion that I haven't seen but has obviously been drafted first.
So we have, okay.
And
so
then this motion second.
I guess that's what I was trying to ask is, are you making a motion to table this motion until after?
Sure, that sounds right.
I'm literally just, right.
So I move that we table the motion until we have the opportunity to discuss the specifics of what we would be asking the MSBA to delay us for.
Second.
Okay, so just everyone's clear, the motion to request an extension was moved and seconded. We began discussion. As part of that discussion, a member asked to table it to be still heard within this same meeting. I'm reading that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, just table it for a moment. I heard a second on that. So now what we're discussing is that motion, which is to table temporarily, still to be seen in this meeting, the motion to request an extension. Does anyone have any comment or discussion on that?
I think if tabling this motion until after we've discussed the other one makes school committee members feel more comfortable, I think we should do it.
Any other members? All right,
I don't think we need to table it, but that's me.
okay. Any other members? Okay, so it looks like we're ready to vote. Just to be clear, this vote is only on tabling it. A yes vote would mean we would table this motion for the moment. A no vote would mean we would continue with discussion on this motion right now. Everybody's clear?
Clear.
Okay. Trent?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Dana's a yes. Amy?
Yes.
David?
No.
Julia?
No.
David Frankel?
Yes.
Okay, so that is 5-2, and the motion passes. That motion will be tabled, but again, to be heard within the same meeting. Okay, David, do you have another motion?
I do. Let me take my gum out. Excuse me. I move that the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District hereby appropriate the amount of $142,266,034 for the purposes of paying costs of designing, constructing, and equipping a new Cutler Elementary School at 237 Asbury Street, Hamilton, Mass. That will allow for the consolidation of grades 1 through 5 across the district and for the payment of all other costs incidental or related thereto the project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount to be expended at the direction of the Cutler School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the district is authorized to borrow said amount under and pursuant to Chapter 71, Section 16N of the general laws in the regional agreement as amended, or pursuant to any other enabling authority. The district acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on needs as determined by the MSBA. And any project costs the district incurs in excess of the grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district. Provided further that any grant the district may receive from the MSBA shall not exceed the lesser of 151.28% of eligible approved project costs as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, and that the amount of borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced by any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the district and the MSBA.
The debt authorized by this vote shall be submitted to the registered voters of the district's member towns for approval at a district-wide election in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 71, Section 14D, and Chapter 71, Section 16N of the General Laws and Regional Agreement. The date of such district-wide election shall be September 15th, 2025, from noon until 8 p.m.
Second.
Second by Jen Carr. Okay, so again, I would
Sorry, what
like...
was that date again?
September 15th,
September 15th, David.
2025. So, again, I want to give every member opportunity to speak. We're going to have opportunities to ask questions. So, just want to make sure everyone gets a chance to say what they need to say. Who wants to speak next? Jen.
Probably not as well known as the Rolling Stones, but Terry Pratchett's always been a favorite author of mine. And one of his quotes is that a lie can run around the world before the truth actually has its boots on. And I think there's been a phenomenal amount of misinformation spread, either by people who were unhappy with the project and chose to cant the information a particular direction, or for people who just didn't know what had already been done. With all that misinformation out there, I think it's impossible in the time frame we had for our residents to separate what is false and what is true. By extending this vote as a ballot vote till September 15th, we're giving people the entire summer to, which most of us are not as busy during, thank goodness, to learn what the truth is and hopefully eliminate the spread of misinformation that has come from various parts of this town. The other reason I am supporting this motion there is twofold. First of all, every single vote that has been taken, while it has not met the 2/3 threshold, has been a majority of the people, and we represent the people. That's our job. And the last aspect is financial. I'm the chairman of the Capital Finance Committee, and if I thought this project could be done to serve all our students in a less expensive way, I would 100% support that. But it cannot be done in a less expensive way. We cannot renovate Winthrop and Bucher for less money than it is going to take us to build a consolidated school. And that's probably the biggest bunch of misinformation that's been out there. Despite what the FinComs have said, despite what the schools committee has said, there are multiple people who say, we can do this cheaper. Trust me, if we could do it cheaper, I'd do it cheaper. Part of my job as the chair of that committee is to watch the bottom line. And so those are the three reasons I support putting this towards a ballot vote.
Thank you. Let's see, who
Can
wants
I
to
just
speak?
ask a question to Mr. Tracy?
Yeah.
Eric, have we cost out the renovation on each of the schools in a comprehensive way that is not an order of magnitude estimate?
Only order of magnitude. That was part of the initial 14 site examination. So only order of magnitude.
Thank you.
David Frankel or David Polito or Amy, would you like to speak?
Yeah, my reservation is that there's nothing in, we talk about all students, but this is not all students. It's only students in the elementary school. And my fear all along, since I've become aware of this project, is that there won't be enough money to do anything for the remaining schools. And nothing will happen for any of the students in any of the schools, at least for 2 years. And then after that, the middle school and the high school will be pauperized by this project. And we haven't really costed out what it's going to take to improve those schools or when. So I don't really think we have done enough homework, and I understand somewhat how we got to where we are. But I feel that, as a parent, grandparent of a middle schooler, soon to be a high schooler, there's nothing in this project for my family, and I can't see why any of the parents in the district of middle and high schoolers would see this project as being a fair allocation of resources. It's not that it's intrinsically bad, it's that we don't have the full picture of how to bring all of the schools up to an acceptable standard. And we haven't measured in the middle school and the high school sufficient to even know how off the standards they are. Basic things like today, temperature and humidity control is not there, except in a couple of rooms, but certainly not in the classrooms, in any of the schools. So it's not that I'm intrinsically against building a consolidated school. I just think we are going to the voters with a very incomplete picture of what the total expenditures are needed. You can then debate over what time and what are the sources of funding and so forth. But we haven't done that, and I feel as a collective we haven't done the whole job.
Okay. Amy or David?
Sure, I'll go.
Don't feel obligated, you're not required.
I don't feel obligated. It's important to me that everybody understands that this is an incredibly difficult decision to make, despite what you might think about how I feel about this project. My responsibility lies with students, teachers, families, and community. I ran for school committee twice with that all over my signs, and I truly believe in it. When I make decisions, these are not black or white decisions. There's so many kind of levers to consider, and I always consider those groups first when I make decisions. The thing that makes it easier is I know that I'm also responsible for the fiscal part of these projects, and even if you only care about finances, this is also the right way to go. I care about your wallets and mine too. I'm also a taxpayer. But making this choice is super hard. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure from both sides of this issue to vote a certain way. We can't make a decision tonight or any time that will make 100% of you totally happy. It isn't possible. So those are some of the reasonings behind why I plan on voting yes for bringing this to a ballot vote. But I also agree with some of my colleagues that one of the hardest parts of this for me as a person who's really interested in the truth and media is that a lot of money and time was spent misleading people about this project. And it's understandable. Things are in print, things are on websites. It's hard to know what to pay attention to. I spent the last month sitting at the library on Thursday afternoons inviting people to come sit down and ask me questions. My phone number is in the signature of my email. I'm happy to talk anytime. I truly am. I've spent a lot of time reading about soil reports and traffic studies, and I've been annoying friends who are engineers asking a lot of questions about soil engineering. So I have done the research, and I'm happy to talk to anybody. But I'm uncomfortable letting this money go to waste. And I really encourage my fellow committee members to vote yes on this ballot vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want me to go, or do you want to go?
I mean, I'll go. But I mean, I think it's the school committee's right, and it's its civil duty, and, civic responsibility to pursue every lawful path forward to securing this funding for the project, right? It's already been backed by the majority, excuse me, of people here, within the district, and it's important to remember that, our regional agreement came before this MGL happened, right? So it's not like we're circumventing the system at all, right? We're actually using resources that are available to us that weren't always available to us, right? This idea of having a 67% threshold really creates this minority rule, right? And tonight I've heard over and over again that just trust the process, trust the votes, and uphold the democratic process, right? This idea of a minority rule, right, really just throws the idea of democratic process out the window, because it takes 1.5 yes votes to equal 1 no vote, right? And in every opportunity that we've put it to the public, that the majority every single time has been in favor of the project. So going through our diligence in finding opportunities to secure this funding and putting it back to the voters is our responsibility. I just got reelected to this seat. I know why I was reelected to this seat, right? It was my support of this project that people wanted me back in this seat, right? So if you want to talk about 7 votes that won, you can count that one too, right? So this is the way to go, and this is our responsibility as school committee members to try and secure this funding.
Thanks. I want to respect that, Trent. I know you spoke, but you really asked some questions. I don't know if you felt like you got an opportunity
I
to speak.
definitely have something to say, but
Yeah.
I'm happy to let you go first.
Okay, I can go first, sure. I didn't prepare something to say. I've been behind this project since day one. I am going to say that if I had fully understood the option that is here before us a year ago, I would have pushed hard to do that. I have made both sides of this issue pretty angry by not declaring openly what I was going to do. And I did that because I have spent a lot of time researching. I researched the history of the middle school. I researched a lot. I'm not a lawyer. I dug deep into the law. I did a lot of work. I do understand the emails that say, we've already voted, why are we voting again? I want to make sure you hear what I am saying, that if I had if I had understood this opportunity a year ago, that is what I would have pushed for. It is not new. It is not changing the rules. It is Mass General law. It is Mass General law. It is Mass General law. It is Mass General law.
Run for office
And
yourself.
As with other portions of our regional agreement, which I have worked extensively with, there are more than one part of the regional agreement in which Mass General law supersedes our very old, decades-old regional agreement. I have spent a lot of time working with that document. So, that's where I am on this at this moment. To you, Trent.
Thank you, Dana. So I know I'm going to say things that many of you disagree with. Appreciate that. I think it's amazing that you're all here. I would just appreciate if we could just concentrate on the argument here moving forward. David, to your point, first I just want to say that I know everybody has put a lot of thought and time and energy and effort into this project. And David, to your point about minority rule, I think that when I go back to a year ago when we sat in this room after getting a poll that was done scientifically that has pretty much predicted where we are today, like we should invest in that company, right? Like it's amazing how well it identified how these votes were going to come out. I don't see a 2/3 vote as being something that's unique to this regional agreement or something that's oppressive. I think that when 2/3 votes exist in a democratic process, what they're saying is you have to compromise. It is your imperative to compromise because, to quote the Rolling Stones, you can't always get what you want, but sometimes you get what you need, right? The perfect is the enemy of the good. The project that was selected, I want to, some givens. Given all of our schools need renovation, every single one of them, right? Kids would be in here sweating like this if it was a school day today, right? High school, middle school, all given, right? So I completely support that. What has concerned me about the project, and it's exactly what I talked about before, is not the merits, it's the process. I think that we did go through a long school building committee process that identified 4 potential options, right? 2 of those options weren't actually consistent with the ed plan, is what my understanding is. 2 of them were. One of them was a compromise, right? It also, not considering the cost of updating all of the elementary schools in the district, it also was the one option with the highest price tag, right? And a year ago, I brought to this group, there are 2 people that I have heard from. One, a group that is very passionate about small schools. And that's not unfounded. If you go back to the 2014 master plan, it says in that document twice, in all 300 pages, it was written by people in this district, that there's compelling evidence that small schools are better than a consolidated school. That plan didn't actually make any recommendations. That was just a given that they wrote into the plan. It's actually a really interesting document that also talks about how the high school is a problem. 2 is the people that are really concerned about their taxes, right? And we do live in a place that's unbelievably high taxes. And I think everybody understands that tax is an investment in the community, right? If a year ago we had compromised, we had said there's 2 options on the table, one of them is cheaper than the other, we wouldn't be here today because it would have passed, right? How many people are really concerned about small schools, right? That would have maintained small schools. And I understand that the idea of compromise is anathema to like the political zeitgeist that we live in right now, right? Instead, let's just like double down on our partisan side. But I think that it's really important. The reason that our regional agreement has a 2/3 requirement is because it's saying you have to compromise. And that's what I haven't seen us do, despite the fact that I've seen nothing but goodwill and good intention and concern in every single vote that this group has taken about the well-being of students. So my main critique of where we are today is an ethical critique. I do think that we have all said in public, on camera, people can go back and identify it, that in order to pass this, it required a 2/3 majority, right? I have also seen that there is a tremendous amount of problems that I've had with the process along the way, right? The school building committee was not formed properly. I was not happy with the fact that there weren't more residents on it. I wasn't happy with the fact that this committee didn't dictate how it made decisions, right? Because we never charged that group. All of those, I think, are different ethical considerations than the one before us, because all of those were, this is new, It's never been done before in recent memory, and you're bound to make mistakes along the way in terms of process. My concern with this one is that it retroactively impairs the credibility of this body as a government entity. We are saying that the things that we told people in the past are wrong because we choose to make them wrong today. And that's where I have a really big problem with it, right? Because this is not the last project that has to get funded. I firmly believe there's going to be an override to give everybody the pay that they need, although I don't think that the pay got to where everybody needs it to be. I think that the community in any other instance would get behind and support teachers for their contracts, which I know we don't know if it's going to be an override next year, but let me just say that's my opinion, is that there's going to be an override next year. We are in the MSBA project or process for the roof for the high school, right? If you go back to the 2014 report on the high school, the first thing they say is, it might be time to build a new high school. There are a lot of projects. That was 11 years ago that it said you might be time to build a new high school. There are a lot of projects that are going to come forward. And I think that if we decide that this is the way forward for the school committee, I think that the school committee is going to have to invoke this same process every time moving forward. And I just want everybody to be comfortable with that. Because I do think that you're going to have a group of people that feel betrayed. And I think that they're ethically correct. Because I think that law is not ethics. If something is legal, it does not mean it's ethical. I could give you tons of examples of things that have been legal in the United States that are abhorrent, right? Retrospectively, they're abhorrent, but at the time, they were legal. The law is not a bar for what is and is not ethical conduct. This, I think the ethics are clear. I think that moving forward violates the integrity of this committee. Retroactively, we are all agreeing that what we told people on camera is false, right? And I have a problem with that. I have a personal problem with it, and I have a problem with it for this committee. But because of that, there's really not a way that I can support moving forward. I think that the idea that MSBA funding is a one or done is not true. We have seen other communities that have voted down schools and they've gone back and they're in the MSBA process, right? So I think that the narrative of, oh my gosh, we're going to give up this money, that was the concern that I brought before this group a year ago, right? That there isn't community support for that. We have scientific evidence for that. And now we're at a place where we are changing the rules. And I know, Dana, that we didn't know about this a year ago, but we did know about it before we took it to the last school, the last district vote, right? We discussed it in this committee before we went to that meeting, which means we all knew, and everybody in this committee disavowed it, and they're like, we didn't ask for that, right? You can go back and look at the video. We didn't ask for it because we didn't, right? But we did know it before that vote. So that is the overarching concern that I have, and the reason why I asked for this vote first, because I can't support fracturing the integrity of this committee moving forward, right? And at the same time, because I can hold two contradictory things in my head at the same time, I completely, utterly understand that all of our schools need funding. I just think that there has to be an ethical way to do it, and I don't think this is it. That's it.
Okay, so is there, we need to be able, excuse me, we need to be able to hear each other. Do other people have other discussion? Do people want to ask questions and discuss, rebut, debate?
I have something
Julia.
to say. Did everyone speak?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. One, like Trent, I do share your concerns. But like I said before, at the last vote that was very kind of a little bit similar to this one. People have elected us. There was a recent election, and the school committee members that were elected are very vocally in support of this project. And the other thing I would say is obviously a majority of people want this school consolidation project, but I think we do have to vote with our conscience. We have to vote on what we think is right, and we have to vote on what we think we were elected to do. And so I'm not challenging you on that. The other thing that I want to discuss is something that David Frankel said, and I think it's a point that I've been hearing a lot. It's sort of like, well, my family's not going to benefit from this, or I don't have kids in the school anymore, or it's like, but what I think is, and David, I don't mean that you're not thinking about the district as a whole, but we need to get out of this thought of, because I don't have kids. My son is going into 5th grade. He's never, my daughter is in high school. Like, I am personally never going to benefit from this school project. I know there are other school projects, but we need to think about it as, who are we as a district? Who are we? What is our vision for this district? Do we want to move forward? Do we want to be innovative? Do we want to attract and keep the best teachers and the best administrators? Or do we want to stay in the past? Do we want to stay in nostalgia? Do we want to keep Band-Aids and keep patchworking things? And we're not saying that a vote for elementary school consolidation is a vote against the high school. We're not pitting the schools against each other. It's sort of like when you live in a city, it's like, oh, my neighbor's road got paved, so I'm mad my road didn't get paved. Well, hopefully I live in a town that's going to pave that road, this year and pave my road next year, right? We can't just kind of do tit for tat and quid pro quo here. We have to really think about like the district as a whole and the type of town and towns and community that we want to live in. So that's how I see it. I see it as a bigger picture vision for attracting families, keeping teachers, keeping administrators, moving things forward, moving into the future, and helping the community get on board with some other projects that we might want to invest in potentially in the future. Looking at the middle school, looking at the high school. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball to say what's going to happen there. But to me, it's sort of it's just really putting a stake in the ground and saying, what do we want this community to be? And how do we want to stand up for our students? And, sort of who do we want to attract, and what kind of talent do we want to keep here in our district? And that's
Couldn't agree more. The only thing is we haven't developed that picture. We have a half a picture. And there's
It's impossible to develop the whole picture. We can never see the future. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's true. I think that's what strategic planning is all about. And we didn't have a strategic facilities plan. We did it in 2016, but we don't have now. And that's really my complaint. It's not that I don't want to do something with the elementary school. It's that we have failed to do the homework and the planning so that when the taxpayers make their decision, they're making with the whole picture in mind.
Okay. I'm just looking at people. Do people feel like we're ready to move? Are we ready to vote? Does anyone have anything else they want to say? Just like every vote this evening, this will be a roll call vote. I'm going to start in the room. David Polito.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Dana is a yes. Jen.
Yes.
Trent.
No.
Julia.
Yes.
David.
No.
The vote is 5-2, and the motion passes. Okay. David, do you have another motion, or we need the,
I have to take it from the table.
Already
can you, okay, so we'll just,
taking it back.
correct,
from-
next up is the tabled motion. which, if you recall, is to direct the superintendent to write a letter requesting an extension to the MSBA. Does anyone have any discussion, questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll start on Zoom. David Frankel?
No.
Julia?
Yes.
Trent?
No.
Jen?
Yes.
Dana's yes.
Amy's yes.
David, yes.
Okay, and that motion passes 5-2. Okay. So, looking at our agenda, I am mindful of the time, and I know that we have certain things on the agenda that really have to occur this evening. So, if the committee is willing, I'd like to move on to item D, request for FY26 ESP. If you guys are okay with that. I'm going to try to get everything done, but I want to do things in a thoughtful manner here. Seeing no objections, I'm going to ask you, Eric, to talk to that.
Sure. I kind of alluded to this a couple meetings back where we were examining some of our move-ins and some of our potential changes for students who are on IEPs. One of the solutions we are unable to solve without adding an ESP position is we have a particular move-in, a student who requires one-to-one support based on the IEP that they brought into our district. We can pay for that position through IDEA grant funding. It's just one of the realities that this child needs to have a one-to-one support while in our schools. So it was a recent move-in. It was after we cleared the budget, and as we went back and forth and started moving some programs around, we were unable to fill this particular point. So I'm requesting a 10 FTE position added to the FY26 budget to be funded by IDEA grant funding. And this is specifically for next year only. We'll review it at the end of the year.
Okay, let's, if you're willing, David, let's start off with a motion.
Sure. I move that the Hamilton Regional School Committee accept the request for the FY26 ESP full-time position as presented in tonight's agenda.
Second.
Second by Amy Kumberger. Anybody have any questions? Is there discussion? Okay, looks like we're ready to vote. I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to start with Trent.
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Dana's a yes. Amy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Julia?
Yes.
David Frankel?
Yep.
Okay, and
Yes.
that is unanimous, and the motion passes.
Excuse me.
Thank you, Eric. All right.
Do.
Do we want to do the bus contract? All right. How do we all feel about talking about the bus contract next? I'm mixing things up. I'm just trying to make sure we get through everything. That needs to be discussed this evening. Are we all good with that? Julia and David? What that means we would be moving to item 8A, award student transportation contract. Okay. To you, Vinnie. Sorry to spring that on you.
So I couldn't hear that.
Julie and David, can you still see my screen?
What happened to them?
They're here.
Okay.
Sorry, computer's about to die. I don't want to risk it.
Oh, good, mosquitoes.
Yeah, isn't it?
Excellent.
that's what I thought I saw.
That makes this even better.
It's like tropical, fully tropical.
Fantastic.
Thought we needed something challenging tonight,
Yeah.
so I invited them in.
Mosquitoes, perfect.
The air feels good, though. Should we close the doors, I guess?
It's fine. I'm sure none of us are sweaty, so they won't be attracted to our,
No.
yeah.
Should turn on one of the fans. Insects have a hard time Hell no.
When you get on the bike, right?
Yeah.
He tried. What's wrong with that?
Who is speaking to this?
That's a broom.
So thank you guys for letting me present to you tonight. We are here to review the results of our invitation for bid for our student transportation contract that'll get us through either the next 3 years or almost the next decade, depending on which direction you choose. Turn this on, sorry. So just to kind of level set where we are, as of those of you who are here on the committee, back in November or December of 2024, the school district submitted a request for a grant award from the U.S. Department of EPA. On January 6th, 2025, the district was notified that they were awarded a roughly $5 million grant under the EPA's Clean Heavy Duty Vehicles program to help electrify our transportation fleet. But we don't actually have our own transportation fleet. We contract that out. So on May 12th, 2025, I issued an invitation for bid to procure the school bus transportation services. Those bids were due on June 3rd, and we've obviously received those results. We tried to make the invitation for bid go both ways to give the school committee a choice on which direction they wanted to go, because obviously this is new to us, electrifying our fleet. We really had no idea what these prices were going to come in at, so I worked with our attorneys to structure the invitation to bid to have you have your choice on which way you'd like to proceed. So interested companies could submit a bid for either alternate A or alternate B or both. Alternate A is our normal course of doing business. It's our 3-year diesel bus contract. This is what we've done historically for roughly the past 30 years. Or they could submit on alternate B, which was a new option for us. It is a 8-year with 2 single individual options to extend the contract for a total maximum contract term of 8 years, which would provide electrical buses to transport our students. Within it, as I had mentioned, we tried to reserve the right to the school committee to award the contract to either alternate A or alternate B, whichever you guys deemed to be in the best interest of the school district. We did receive bids from 2 companies. One company submitted only a bid for alternate B, while the other company submitted both alternate A and alternate B. So in terms of alternate A, our diesel buses, again, the regular course of how we do business, our only bidder, was Salter Transportation, who we have done business with for quite some time. Their total 3-year contract term came in at just over $3.3 million. Salter Transportation, Inc. has provided school transportation services for approximately 70 years. They have a long-standing relationship with the district. We've used them for over 25 years. I couldn't narrow down exactly how long we've used them, as most people that have been around back then are no longer with the district or no longer with Salter, so no one could really answer how long we've been with them. I had documentation back about 25 years, and it's been Salter for that time. They know our routes. We know they have the staffing, and they know they have all the buses. They would stay the same. The company already owns and operates the number of buses we require. They already have the land and the infrastructure to maintain the diesel bus fleet. The result of the bid is an increase of approximately 3% over our current contract, and then 3% every year after that. So in other words, it's 9% over 3 years.
Vinny, a quick question. Historically, my understanding was that their 3-year kind of percentage increases was quite a bit higher than that.
Yes, if you rewind back 3 years ago, there was a drastic increase in gas prices back then. We almost hit $4 a gallon. So the last contract came in well over 3% increase, but gas prices aren't nearly as high as they were when that happened. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's kind of, if that was the major variable, yeah, that does.
The last time we went out to bid, correct. That was the major variable back then, which is what caused the prices to jump so much last time around.
Right, okay, sorry, keep going.
It's okay, yep. So alternate B, we received 2 bids. The lower bidder was Doherty's Garage. Their total 10-year contract came in at $14.3 million. Whereas Salter Transportation for alternate B came in at $16.3 million for the total 10-year term. Yep,
Does that include subtracting out the money from the feds?
that is correct.
Okay.
That's the
Right,
net.
That's our out-of-pocket.
Correct.
Right, I just wanted to make, because I wanted to double check that too. That is, in other words, assuming they get the $5 million, this 14 million really is 19 million.
No, it's like 20. They get the 14 million from us, and in addition, they get the $5 million.
That's what I meant.
in
Yes,
the
I just
EPA
wasn't
funds.
adding all the extra,
Yep.
yes.
So for the 10-year term for Doherty's, it would be more like the 19.3 they would receive from us. 5 coming through a pass-through and 14 from us. Okay, so Doherty's Garage Inc. Was founded in 1905. They currently operate out of Lincoln, Massachusetts as a service and repair shop. They also have gasoline pumps. They do bus transportation for the Lincoln School District, as well as a lot of private schools in the area, and they also run a rubbish trash removal company. Their 10-year electric bid, Doherty did provide a lot of third-party letters promising sufficient inventory of diesel buses, because of course we're not going to have fully electric vehicles in the first year of the contract, so they would initially have to come in with some diesel buses as we transition to the electrical. In addition, they do have letters from other vendors promising to lease land from them and help them build out the infrastructure and maintain and repair and service the electric vehicles. So I do have a recommendation tonight that has changed a little bit since we presented to this, but I'm going to move forward and then explain that. So the recommendation at the time is to stick with Salter Transportation and stick with our 3-year diesel bus bid. How I looked at it was in terms of dollars, obviously. For the 3-year electrical bus contract with Doherty, again, that's the first 3 years of the 10-year contract. Those first 3 years came in at $3.5 million. When you look at Salter Transportation 3-year buses, those came in at $3.3 million. So ultimately, the EV cost to us is, over those 3 years, is $238,000 more to go with electric, even though we received the $5 million EPA grant. So how I looked at it, we already built our FY26 budget that we passed last year. I'm looking forward to the year after that. I'm always looking 1 year ahead, looking at our 27 budget. Our 27 budget under Salter would come in at just over 1.1 million, whereas Doherty's would come in at just under 1.8 million. That difference is roughly $79,000, which if you look at our teacher's contract, that's pretty much exactly what we pay a Master's Step 5 teacher. A Master's Step 5 is really where we kind of benchmark our new hires. It's where we put in our budget placeholders when we have vacant positions. So how I looked at it is next year, when we go to build our 27 budget, as you remember during 26, we used approximately $2.1 million in E&D to supplement the budget. We have to bridge that gap in 27 when we go to build our next budget. I don't think we will have to bridge the whole $2 million, but this kind of amplifies the problem. I looked at it as this is one more additional staff member that we're going to have to review, and we're going to have to find whether or not we can come up with the funds, or whether we will have to do something different to try to cut costs to either pay for the transportation or pay for that Step 5 teacher. One thing that has come up since I posted this presentation is Doherty's Garage has made some advancements in their leasing process, because again, other than the finances, they don't currently own the buses. They don't currently have 17 staff members on duty to drive the buses. Excuse me. So I do have some concerns about how the beginning of the school year would go, how the transportation is ultimately going to roll out with a new company that is going to have to acquire all of these things within the next 2 months before we start transporting students on September 1. So in addition to the finances, I do have concerns about how the process will roll out in September. As you guys just discussed, in September, we might be in another political contentious environment with the new school building vote. This would kind of go head on right into that. We might have transportation issues in September. So just from my point of view, I would stick with Salter as it is risky, but I would like to say that Doherty has offered to lower their price in the beginning of the 3 years to reduce that amount below the diesel price. So they did offer to reduce the first 3 years of the contract by $90,000. That would ultimately drop them below Salter in the first 3 years. I've also made contact with a lot of their third-party vendors who have promised to lease them land and supply the buses. I am confident that they will supply them the buses and they will lease them the land. However, it's not guaranteed. They still have to procure it all. They still have to make deals and arrangements with these people. Things could happen between now and then. Just me personally, I wouldn't be willing to take that risk at this time and at the beginning of the school year. But I would just like to say, this is your decision. If EV is the way you guys want to go, you have every right. This is just my recommendation. My feelings will not be hurt. I am all for EV. I am just a little nervous on the price, but that has been kind of settled with recent talks with Doherty. But ultimately, it is your decision. I do have a motion awarding it to Salter, but we can obviously, you have the right to change that if you like, and I can try to answer any questions. I'd just like to end with, this was a very confusing bid, and there was a lot of back and forth with the attorneys. Hopefully, I can answer your questions if you have them.
Thank
I
you
have
for
a
that.
question.
Yep.
What's the 10-year, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go, David.
I wanted to get the comparison of the diesel for 10 years versus the electric for 10 years.
So we only went out for 3 years for diesel, so we do not have prices for 10 years on diesel. Only extrapolating it based on the prices, you know, you're looking at anywhere from $700,000 to $1 million more for the electric, and that is only a guess. Again, we do not have prices beyond year 3 for diesel. And that could change greatly depending on gas prices.
Once Salter doesn't have the electric bus competition, that they will jack up their prices at a higher pace after the 3 years. So that's why I was hoping that we would have an apples for apples 10-year versus 10-year deal to compare.
We do not. We only ask for a 3-year price for diesel. You only authorize me to go to 10 years on the electric.
Would Salter be prepared to bid a 10-year bid?
I can't answer that question for Salter. We could certainly do that, but you would be putting us behind months. At that point, my guess would be Doherty might not be willing to hold off that long. They have to have everything ready to go by July 1, so you are jeopardizing our other bidder, but I can't speak on their behalf.
Can I say, can't we just, because we know Salter, it's like a 3% increase, I think, totally normal every year, right?
Correct, 3%.
So couldn't we maybe kind of, I mean, we would be making this up, but estimate 3%, 3%, 3%, 3% into 10 years? So we could,
if
we wanted to.
If they're willing to freeze the rate at that. 'Cause that
Right,
is
that's true,
structural.
we would be completely making that up, but.
I'm only guessing, but I would assume that Salter would raise their price drastically because they have to assume gas prices for the next 10 years. And
Right.
without that
Right. Oh,
assumption, they're
right.
probably just gonna, put a multiplier on it.
Right. I'm not sure if this is but I'm not sure, Julia, what you were asking, but, I mean, were you saying, like, we could hypothetically try to extrapolate that in 3 years, we would get another bid, another contract, and those would be also 3%, 3%? Is that what you're saying, Julia?
Me?
Yeah.
I was saying if you want to estimate the cost, because this said that Salter's pretty steady it's a 3%, it's been a 3% increase year over year. Am I mistaken? I've got to look back at the slides. But that's the only way we could maybe estimate it, but it's impossible, I mean, to extrapolate that for 10 years, but we could maybe think about a ballpark in that way. But also, if we don't have an official bid from a vendor, I'd be hesitant to do that.
Yeah. Well, it's also not just a financial decision. There is as I gather, obviously a significant reduction in emissions that does affect the health of some students, particularly those that are more sensitive to that kind of emission particulate, and noise.
Correct. Those are all great things that we would gain by going EV. That's why it's really you guys' decision on which way you wanna go.
Jen?
So I actually tried to quantify those costs. So I went to the Harvard, found a couple of articles out of the Harvard School of Public Health. And per year, the savings in health benefits is a little over 200,000, 207,000.
For how many? For what? Like.
So, an electric one and health benefits per bus. Per
Okay.
bus. And then an additional $40,400 in climate benefits, just due to the reduced carbon footprint.
It's interesting.
Yeah, but that doesn't affect our budget.
But we live in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So can I ask I know we've been.
Hopefully I can answer
through
it.
this. No, we've been through this, and I tried to really make sure I understand that, like, how many electric buses are put in use year one? How many electric buses are, because there was a chart somewhere in there, I didn't see that.
So there's a requirement that they have them all by the end of year 2.
Okay, because year one, in both of these cases, in year one, they're using mostly diesel buses until they get the first electric bus, correct?
Correct. There has been some advancements with Doherty since then. They may have had a different client fall through, so they might be able to roll out EV buses quicker than originally planned, but again, I wouldn't.
And same with Salter, they have to acquire these
Correct.
buses, correct?
Yep.
You know, we basically pass
Yeah.
the grant to
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
They
no,
buy
I
the
get it.
buses with the grant.
I've got it about the
Yeah,
grant.
it's just timing. They take each about 3 months. If you were to buy, I need 16 buses, they go out about 3 months because the competition's pretty high across the.
And when, because if I read the grant correctly, when you receive a new electric bus, the company would be required to decommission a diesel bus, correct?
Correct.
And
You
my
have to take a diesel
understanding,
bus.
if I'm not wrong, is that they just like destroy the bus. That bus doesn't go to some other,
You destroy the bus. It's
Just-
taken offline.
kind of hard for me to
And
swallow.
that's
Like,
something we
that's-
have to bring back to the state to show proof that that bus was decommissioned completely. It's part of the grant.
Question.
Yeah.
If the grant is withdrawn,
Right,
what do our numbers look like?
right. I have that same question.
Meaning on the
Like, are
electric
these,
side?
like, is this a commitment from Doherty that irrespective of whether or not EPA honors the $5 million.
If that grant goes away,
If that
we
grant
will
goes
have
away,
to cancel the contract,
have to
but there
cancel
will
the
be,
contract.
there will have to be stipulations in the contract that we develop with them.
And then we would be without a contract, potentially at any point in time in the
We
middle
would
of
then
a
have to
year.
rebid the contract for diesel.
Okay.
I had the same question.
So there is a lot of risk for Doherty in this. It all obviously, even if we choose this way, it still depends on whether we have an executed contract. Our attorneys are still developing that contract to give us certain protections. They could not like those.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
It is
I
a
don't-
tough decision.
It's a very tough decision, and it doesn't matter because it's not what happened, but I'm questioning how I would have felt if Salter had come in with the low electric bid. Because I feel like it's really hard, it's a big risk. This is a big risk for everyone. And I'm nervous about, like, it could be great. Like, I am concerned and have been concerned about I think someone from the public mentioned about, that Salter is typically the only bid we get, or, and I am concerned about that. And I'm encouraged that another company, I think that's good. At the same time, it's a big risk for everyone. I guess I really want to try the electric buses, but I'm really nervous about taking a risk on the grant at the same time as on a new, somewhat smaller, I guess, company. And to Trent's point, there's just,
Every company has to start somewhere, even Salter.
Right, no, right, so I guess I'm just, I don't know.
But I mean, it sounds like even if the EV funding falls through, that Doherty can provide us with diesel buses, because they're gonna have to, until we can get the electric buses.
Is that something that we can put in a contract in writing?
Well, they have to provide diesel right off the bat.
Even after,
Yes.
but,
There
okay.
might be some electrical mixed in there to start, but at a minimum, they have to have diesel. They
Yeah,
have to have 16 buses for us.
so it's not like the EPA money might fall through and we're stuck without any buses at all.
No.
Doherty can still provide diesel.
I guess I'm just saying, I feel like there's a lot of, and I'm very torn because, of course, I don't know anything about Doherty's garage, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to I'm just worried about, there's a lot of unknowns here. It seems like they have to go out and acquire both some diesel and some electric buses. I guess it just,
There is members
all
of
struggling
their
with the same thing,
team
like-
in the audience, but
what?
there is members of their team in the audience. I don't know if that matters to you guys.
Well, I
Can I
feel
say
like I
something?
wish I had known that in advance, because I would have wanted to have opportunities for both committees.
Both of them.
Yeah,
I don't disagree.
but, again, you can always, someone else can outvote me on that. All right, other people should talk. David?
Quick question.
Yeah.
How, you probably don't know these numbers off the top of your head, so I'm gonna apologize in advance for putting you on the spot. In the past 10 years, how many years has Salter actually given us just a 3% increase? Like, that seems like something I would have prayed for on the finance committee.
Probably I would, if I had to take a guess, 6 out of 12 years, half
Yeah.
the time.
50%.
I don't quote, I'd have to definitely look at that.
I know
but-
you don't have the numbers off the top of your head, but it's not unusual for them to go above 3%, and sometimes even substantially above 3%, if I remember
It's
correctly.
not, it really has to do with what the gas prices are when we go out to bid.
Yeah.
I don't know how relevant this is, but I also get emails on a daily basis about how the school buses are not running on time.
That's not a daily basis. I'm sorry. I'm sticking up for Salter. I love them. They've taken my kids to and from school for like a ton of years, and I think they're wonderful. I think it's more like, I mean, like, there's always going to be hiccups. I definitely don't see it as a daily basis. But
We can agree
maybe
to
I'm not
disagree.
getting the emails.
You can agree. Different people are expressing different opinions on that. Did you have something? I'm sorry, did you have something? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I have a thought I just want to put out there because I need sort of help from you guys with that, right? It's I think we're sitting here and we have to look at sort of where we want our district to go, right? And how we all would really love to see these electric buses go and take advantage of this grant. Excuse me. But on the other, on the flip side, and sort of what I was sort of getting at earlier too, is like, knowing that it's more expensive is a little tough writing another open check. It just seems like there's a few open checks that's floating around there right now. However, I also think, to go back, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling a little bit, I'm trying to figure this out as I go. I think we're, as a school committee, we're really doing a good job of having a vision for our district and saying we're willing to support it financially or put it to the towns financially to support, right? And that we believe in it, whether it's, the teachers' contracts, whether it's, building a new school and, moving to take advantage of this, grant and try to move to cleaner busing, right? So there's a really strong part of me that's like, let's hop on it, and it's something that and I don't mean to speak for anybody here. Like I said, I'm really trying to collect my thoughts out loud. Excuse me. And I think it's important for us to sort of, stick to our guns and say, hey, you know what, we do believe in this. We do want to see this happen in our future, even though it's more expensive. Vinny's doing his job by telling us what makes more financial sense. And if, he's going to jump over the podium and attack me at some point soon because, in the past year, it seems that I've sort of pushed him, pushed back a little bit on his recommendations in that sense. But I'm having a tough time here because just as volatile as the, gas prices are, which dictate, diesel prices that dictate this one contract, so is this very, very, very important $5 million grant, that this all hinges on, right? And so that's where I'm sort of having this moral sort of argument in my head, or moral, ethical, but logical, whatever it may be, that I'm really looking to you guys to sort of try and help me, because I have very good reasons why I would vote for both. So that there is a bit of just financial security and just knowing that we're locked up for another 3 years and it's one less thing to worry about. But then there's this other, just more, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, like just a theoretical or vision where I see our district, where I really would like to be, with moving towards, cleaner busing and, excuse me, and there's definitely some, some support to that too. And so that's where I am. And sorry if thank you for letting me ramble there for a couple minutes, but it's helped me a little to try and organize my thoughts. So I'm curious to see what you guys.
I think you bring up some excellent points, which is, change is always hard, right? It's generally expensive. Doherty is saying we're going to make it whole based upon our estimate, right? Which is pretty amazing. We are making the assumption that oil is safe, and we have that same assumption in lots of places in the school district, and so this would be diversifying that portfolio in terms of where we get energy for one of our main entities, right? It would also be not turning away money that exists, right? And I think that for me, it just needs the backstop of if the money goes away, we still have diesel buses and the cost is still the same, right? If that exists, then I don't see the risk. I think there's lots of unknowns.
Yeah, I was going to say, I still see that's the bigger risk. I do still see some risk about, and again, I know that this isn't necessarily fair to Doherty's, but I wish that I wish that some of our neighbors were using Doherty's, and we had evidence about how, because to your point, it is important that they know the bus routes, that they have the drivers, and I'm a little bit worried about them, I get that I'm a little concerned about their ability to ramp up and make sure they have all the buses, they have the drivers, they know the routes, and I hear your point that you're not pleased with the way Salter is doing the routes, and I also heard Julia's point that she is happy with Salter, but I guess I just feel like there's a lot of uncertainty around the electric bids, not through any fault of either of these companies, just there's a lot of uncertainty.
I think that the other thing that we haven't discussed is that there are lots of reasons to make the change, right? One of them is that diesel exhaust is toxic. It's one of the most toxic substances that we expose ourselves to every single day, right? The evidence is really incontrovertible. And that's not something to not consider, particularly because we line up these buses out in front of schools and then move all of our kids in and out of them, which is essentially exposing the most vulnerable. But if the EPA money goes away, we're doing that anyway.
Can I ask a little bit of a tangent question? But I did a lot of, how does Highland fit into this? Because I got online and they supply I think that was on the Doherty website maybe, or somewhere.
They help with the electrical infrastructure.
Should they get
charging
both? They would help both of these people get the electrical infrastructure?
They could.
They could help Salter, but I don't know how Salter would do it. They didn't tell us that. Only Doherty told us how they would do it. So Highland would assist Doherty with the building of the infrastructure.
And that's what they do, Highland.
Highland.
Yep.
All right, do other people have other discussion?
I have a question that might be answered within this very comprehensive document, but battery replacement would be the expense of the owner of the contract, correct? Okay. That's expensive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have a motion on the table right now. Does anyone want, does anyone want to make a motion?
I move that we accept the Doherty contract for the 10-year electric vehicle buses.
Second.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second to accept the Doherty contract, which is the alternate B electric buses 10-year contract.
8 plus
2
individual options. So
Oh,
it
correct.
does-
I'm
it
sorry.
might not necessarily
8
go to
plus 2,
10,
right.
but
Sorry.
Yep.
What was that?
I was just laughing at everyone.
Everyone is so
Oh, you hit the side of my head.
Completely annihilated by mosquitoes.
There's a
over here.
lot of mosquitoes up here. Okay, do people want to continue to discuss? Do people have things to say? I can sense that no one is actually ready to vote, but, but I don't know that anyone has more to say.
In a very busy night, who knew this would be the toughest decision?
I actually sort of thought this was, I've been, yeah. Okay, it looks like we're ready to vote. I'm gonna start with Jen.
Yes.
Oh, me. No. Amy.
Yes.
David.
Yes.
Julia.
No.
David. Frankel.
Yes. Sorry, yes.
Trent. I
Yes.
was like, I missed somebody. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And so the motion passes 5-2.
Welcome, EV.
Welcome to the EV world.
All right.
Electric buses, here we come. I think this is a really good move for the district. I really do.
It's for Mother Nature.
Thank you all for that. And to both, like Amy mentioned, very comprehensive, complicated contract bids. Thank you for that.
Can I actually just suggest, and maybe now isn't the time, but with some people in the room, that maybe we invite the guys from Doherty back at some point further along to sort of try and help us get a better understanding of, this whole process and.
Sure. I don't know exactly when or what that looks like, but.
Me neither, but it just seems like something I want to know in the future.
Seems like that was, yeah. Again, I just did appreciate they came up. I didn't let them speak just because
I have a
don't
feeling
let
that
people speak unless we know that they're coming.
we'll start getting a lot of emails and calls from other school committees asking us.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Okay.
become the
All
resident
right, so it sounds
experts.
like we've got a committee member that would like that on a future agenda.
Yeah, I'll bring
which,
that up later.
Could be virtual. So, okay.
Okay.
Yep, all right, thank you. Okay, so, just so you're paying attention, we're going very out of order on our agenda. It is 9:57 PM. I do really need to talk about the school committee open seat procedures and timing. So does anyone have a motion for me regarding the fact that it's 9:58 PM?
I move that we extend the Hamilton-Wenham Regional School Committee meeting until 10:30 and then reevaluate.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Regretful second by Amy. Trent,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
David Frankel,
I suppose yes. We'll go along with it.
Julia,
Yes.
Dana's a yes.
Yes, Amy.
Yes.
Okay, and the motion passes. Okay, so item number 7F, school committee open seat procedures and timing. So you'll see that there is a exhibit there that is just the standard language that we've used before to put out to the public to request letters of interest for the open seat. Because Trent is moving and departing the committee, so we'll have an open seat.
He already left.
He
He
just left. So we've done this before. I've consulted already with the Hamilton Select Board. They have agreed, and we've done, this committee has agreed that that date works for them, that we're going to have a Hamilton Select Board joint meeting on Monday, July 21st, 2025. I am still working with them to see whether they want to meet at their usual 7 PM time or whether they want to start a little bit early at 6:30. I am working to confirm that, but please pencil that in on your calendars. Basically, members of the public should know that they can send letters of interest to the committee. It goes to our executive secretary, Janelle Powers. The process is that we would interview all the candidates jointly with the select board. You all have this document, which is why I felt comfortable resending it to you. It's somewhere in your files. You have the document from 2023, but I resent it to you today, which was basically the questions that we used, I'm going to just pull it up, questions that we used last time. I say that, but now I have so many things up. Here it is. I sent that all to you today. I don't know if you have that, Eric, if you can put it up. But basically, these are the potential interview questions that we used last time. This is just me talking. If anyone wants to do something different, you just let me know. But last time, there were 2 questions that were asked by the select board. One was about budget, and one was about communication. And then the rest of the questions were composed by members of the school committee. My thought is that perhaps, if you guys are comfortable with that, we just ask them, the select board, to do that. Not that they have to ask the same question, but that they, oh, here, thank you, Eric. So these are the questions that we used last time. Those number 4 and number 5, can you make it bigger? Number 4 and number 5 were asked by the select board last time. Again, we're all sitting together. It doesn't really matter who asks the question. But they actually composed them, like that one that's in italics. That's because that was kind of a draft, and then the select board edited it, but that was basically their question. So, thoughts?
Well, it worked well last time.
Yeah,
We got a great candidate, some great candidates, so let's stick with this list.
Okay. The only thing I had that I wondered about, whether people think, is that when we did this last time, that we were appointing Trent in December, and so I feel like the committee felt like it was really important to find out whether the candidate intended to run, because that was, Trent didn't really start, I think, until January, and then the term ended in April. So that felt really important. I just want to ask the committee whether you feel like that question is still really important, given that the person would be starting at the beginning of the year and not up for election until April. I just want to put that out there. I could go either way.
You mean the budget season?
Pardon me, say that again?
You're talking about number 4?
Number 3, in April.
Oh, number 3, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that's, relevant necessarily, but I would ask them if they do have any intention to run in the next cycle.
Any other feedback on that? Again, I wasn't saying it wasn't, I just was noting that it was a fairly different situation, because the member would be starting at, a different time of year.
Right.
And that was at the beginning of a term, too.
Yeah.
Right, that was the
Yeah,
first
I would
year.
Right, well, and it's always the case that if you're appointed during the year, that you would need to run in April, but in this case, it's also the end of the term anyway. So the person is, if they were to run again, they would just be running for a normal 3-year term. It would have been the end of Trent's term anyway, so.
Oh, okay, cool.
So there won't be any of that, like running for 1 more year or any of that. It's just a regular. So I guess what I'm asking is, do we like these questions? Are we comfortable just keeping these? Are we comfortable asking the select board to ask those questions, similar questions to they did last time?
Yes.
Do we?
I like these questions. I think they're very comprehensive. I like them.
Okay. Anybody have any other things? Do we need a motion on it, or do we feel like?
I don't feel like we need a motion.
I don't think so.
All right, I will continue forward, getting the date from the select board, confirming the start time of the meeting from the select board. And then I will chat with the chair of the select board about those number 4 and number 5, about whether they want to ask some version of those questions. And we will do it, just so everyone knows. The process is very public. Members have to vote publicly in front of the candidates. It's uncomfortable. But but that's what we'll get it done. Okay. Anybody have anything else on this item? We done? Okay. I'm crossing off, so tell me if I'm missing anything. So next up, the only thing left under new business is a vote on the superintendent evaluation, which is a very important thing that we are required to do annually. David and Amy, wanna take it away?
I'll just say that after going through all of this, Amy actually helped, volunteered to take it over and help neaten everything up and get everything all set to present out to you guys, which I really appreciate very much. So I'll just hand it over to you at this point.
I just want to start off by saying that something was up with the PDF, which we kind of suspected. So I went through it.
You were not wrong.
You
There
were
was
not
something
wrong.
wrong with the PDF.
I've been working with PDFs for 25 years.
As have I.
Yeah, as have you. And what was, just as like a little thing that was happening was like, you would put your cursor in on page 12 and it would fill in what was on page 2. So it was hard to get everybody's actual feedback, because as soon as you touched the page, it would give you the first set's feedback. So I went.
Just feel vindicated.
Yeah, you're right. So I went really old school. Janelle had scanned in all the originals. I printed everything out, got out a pencil. There's parts of this evaluation that are scores, basically, and that was one of the things that was affected on the PDF that we were working with, so I tallied them all by hand. So David, you did a lot of work as far as like compiling comments. I just kind of added to what you had done and very manually pulled out a lot of comments from other people's documents. So that being said, I guess a question I have is, should I go through this as if this is the first time we're seeing it? Or has everyone had a chance to look and we can answer questions?
Let's ask the committee.
Okay.
Does the committee, what does the committee want to have happen here? Super quickly, do we want to read this in detail as is our normal policy? Or do people feel like they've had sufficient time to review it? Or what are we looking for?
I think we got very late.
Say that,
I
I'm sorry.
think we can vote on it. That's just me.
I didn't hear what David
I
said.
move that we vote on it. Can I make a motion or no?
He said that it's getting pretty late.
Is the motion already on the table?
No, I just wanted to make sure David, what did you say? Did you say it's getting late?
Yeah, that seems late, and we.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm just making sure that that's what you said.
it's too serious.
Do you have air conditioning where you are, David?
Because we'll trade.
Yeah.
Do you
I'm
have
afraid that it
mosquitoes
can't do
where
that.
you are?
Got it all here.
I'm sorry, Julia, it sounded like you were saying something.
She made a motion.
Oh, I said, I think we can, I know I can vote on this. So but I can't speak for everyone else, but I could make a motion that we can vote on it.
I think you should do that.
To accept it.
The motion.
Okay, I move that we I move that we accept the summative evaluation report of the superintendent as presented.
Second.
Second by everyone in the room. No, I'll give it to Trent. Okay.
I think that's my first one.
This first second.
First second tonight.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
Now, I just wanted to thank Amy for taking that over, and I apologize to everybody and you, Eric, that there was this problem that just sort of made it a lot longer of a process than it should have been. So, apologize to everybody.
It's a good team effort.
Yeah, I want to thank both of you for fighting with that, and we will be wary of that ahead of next year.
Have ideas for next year.
Yeah, I was going to say I do too.
Okay, does anyone have any questions or comment regarding the content of the document? Okay. All right, looks like we are ready to vote. Everyone's clear on what the motion is?
Yes.
Eric, did you want to comment or anything? Everyone's all set, okay. Everyone is hot. All right, Julia,
Yes.
David Frankel,
Yes.
Trent,
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Dana's a yes, Amy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
All right, and that is unanimous, and the motion passes.
Yay.
Wow, okay. All right, on to committee reports, capital finance?
We haven't met since, and since Trent's leaving, we'll be down an individual.
Okay, okay, that's important to note.
Meeting, yeah.
All right, we'll need to address that. Yep. Policy, you look like you have a first reading there.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I have melted. Yes, this is something that we have reviewed and would like to put.
Do you want me to hit it?
I had a
Oh,
quick
yeah.
question, but you can say something if you...
Yeah, so this is supposed to be reviewed every 2 years.
Thank you.
The Wellness Committee came together this year, dug into it, did an update. Gosh, the first update was a while back, and we haven't, the policy hasn't met for a little while, so it should have been done a few months ago, but it's fine, we're still on our schedule. So the changes are in red, we left them on the first reading as we always do. The committee itself, the Wellness Committee, updated this document. That's about
So
all
that
I
was
can
my
say.
question, Eric. Is
Yep.
it this language, what I'm looking at, about the school counselors?
Yep.
Did the Wellness Committee craft that language, or does this language come from, DESE or somewhere?
So the statement itself, it was, my understanding, it was pulled from the Director of School Counseling, who helped to get the information together along with members of the committee.
Okay. All right, other questions? All right, so we would expect this to come back for a vote the next meeting?
Next meeting, yep.
Okay, all right.
No questions?
Sounds like we're moving on. Negotiations? Don't think we have
I
any.
don't have anything on the schedule. I know there's something that we do need to discuss at some point.
Yep.
Regional agreement?
Yeah, well, and Nick leaving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Secretary report? I don't think we have one.
Yeah, I've got nothing.
Superintendent's report?
Quick and dirty, thanks everybody for an amazing school year. I just finished my 34th year, I'm 12th in the district, so it's been great to see the growth and the things that we've been able to accomplish together, and I look forward to another year of really digging in and making positive change for our students, our families, our staff, and our communities to continue moving forward in the way we've had. So thank you all for your work, and thank you to the communities and all the people who are in our buildings every day sweating.
Like this.
Thank you. Like this. Thank you. Questions for the superintendent? Okay, I am also melting, but the chair report, I did want to ask Amy, do we have a retreat date?
Oh,
think we do.
Sent the 2 dates that had the most consensus to Janelle.
It was the August 12th and 13th, is that correct?
Yes.
Eric, did we pick one that we thought wanted to offer to the committee, or
I think we're leaning into the 12th.
to the 12th? Okay. So the 12th, August 12th, pencil that in.
Trent, you coming back for that one?
Is there going to be air conditioning?
Yeah. Vinny?
We'll try, hopefully.
August 12th.
August 12th, okay. I'm going to just,
Sorry, I didn't hear properly. What is on August 12th?
School committee retreat.
the retreat is August 12th.
Oh, the retreat, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
August 12th. Okay, excellent. I am too melted to say much more. I do want to say thank you and goodbye to Trent. We will miss you. and we wish you all the best. And what a meeting to go out on. Wow.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Topics for future meetings, anyone? I heard one already,
Have a couple.
which was sort of electric
Yeah, now that
bus.
we're in it, let's,
Yeah. And then we need capital finance member.
And yeah, the capital finance
Yep.
member. Well, right, I mean, when we get a new member, we will discuss the committees in general, but we definitely need one for that, so we'll discuss that. Okay. Looking at you, David Frankel.
I would like to move that we adjourn.
Second.
10:16.
All right, it's a roll call vote. Julia?
Yes.
Yep. You got it, yes.
Yeah. David? Frankel?
Oh, yes.
Trent?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Dana's a yes. Amy?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And we are adjourned at 10:16 p.m.